disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're heavy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're heavy because you got nothing. Got nothing.
I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Welcome everybody to another Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's a good friend, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we got a fantastic one for you. We're kickstarting the festivities for the Errol Spence vs. Terence Crawford fight that's going to be taking place on Saturday. I think we've talked enough about tomorrow's fight, and by tomorrow's fight, I'm talking, of course, Fulton vs. Inoue, which is going to be taking place in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, at least here on the East Coast. On the West Coast, haha, you motherfuckers finally get a taste of your own medicine. Every time there's a fight in Vegas or Los Angeles, here on the East Coast, we gotta wait till 1 in the morning. Well, this time you guys gotta stay up till 1 in the morning. And you'll see what we feel. You'll feel our pain. And hopefully you join us next time in complaining about how long it takes for some of these fights to start late at night. Be that as it may, we're gonna be talking about Saturday's fight. It's gonna be a fantastic one, I think. Hopefully it's not boring. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint. We've been through enough disappointment these past couple of weeks. Even though boxing's been good. They've put on some high quality fights, but we don't want any surprises, any negative, nasty surprises. All right. So today we're going to be doing the comparative analysis where we look at Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, and then we go through the gamut. Who has the better hand speed? Who has the better jab? Right hand, backhand, rear hand, you know how it works. And it's usually these things can get contentious and very controversial as well. So that's what we're looking for here, right? Before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way. You guys know the drill. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so with the super chat. Of course, it's always better if you join the membership program. That way you get more bang for your buck. Don't forget you can check us out on Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, the whole shebang. Don't forget to hit the like, really helps us out. Let's give a big shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm talking about TFM, Impala, hashtag CCD. Shout out to him. Shout out to Rafael Garza. This is beautiful sound effects. I don't know what he's talking about, sound effects. Shout out to him. He says, I am ready for tomorrow's fight. Coffee with cinnamon. All right, that sounds pretty good. Nice little drink in the morning. Dark Hado, shout out to him. Shout out to Team Batman Boxing, the Gucci Berserk, Trooper 5131, Harp Jenda, Sam Rando, Alfredo Contreras, Luis Torres, Alejandro Solis, I think I mentioned him. Hand Flow Boxing Review, Timothy Figueroa, Lucky Seam, the Quags in the chat. Shout out to the Quags. Shadow Combat in there as well. Elian Rodriguez says, shout out to Grandpa B. Shout out to Grandpa B. Hey, let's say I am a grandpa. We're putting in a lot of work here for people in advanced stages of life. So let's give ourselves a little shout out too. I see we've got the Gons, that's Gonzalo, and we got Jimmy, aka the Jimmerino. Guys, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Fantastic.
Hey, how's it going, Mr. B?
Good, good, man. Doing fantastic, Gonzalo.
Gonzalo, my brother.
Hope you guys are doing well as well. Now, hey, Gonzalo, if I understand correctly, it's got to be 5 in the morning on your side of the woods, right?
Yeah, I'm squaring away my stuff right now. I'm making my coffee.
So if the Fulton fight, it's in about 12 hours, right? So if it's 5 in the morning.
Tonight, BD, it's the same time as Japan, basically. I think it's going to be the main event will start around 8 o'clock at night, from what I've heard. But the card itself will start around like at 6, maybe 5.
All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. I was just curious about what time you were, 12 hours, and yeah, okay, I just wanted to know the time. Now, listen, in this episode, we're talking about Saturday's big fight, talking about Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. There's a lot of going back and forth jawing, not from the fighters themselves, from their fans. They're going nuts on Twitter. It's really interesting. Whichever fighter wins, there's going to be a lot of shit talking the day after. So here we have Terence Crawford, 35 years of age, no spring chicken, 39-0 with 30 knockouts. Meanwhile, you got Errol Spence, 33 years of age, 28 wins, 22 knockouts. Both guys undefeated. Both guys relatively big for welterweights. So in this episode, like I said, we're going to be comparing their attributes. We'll try to make it controversial so people can actually join in. We're going to be opening up the phone lines too, so people can check in here every once in a while, tell us what they agree with, what they disagree with. And I should also add that we are going to be continuing to take predictions, although not as many. I suspect we're going to have another show reserved later on this week to cover all the predictions, let people call in, that type of stuff. So are you fellas ready? Gonzalo, Jimmy, are you guys ready?
Yeah, yeah. Almost, yeah.
I don't think I heard you correctly. I said, are you guys ready?
I'm like the different apocalypse, almost. But I'm almost there.
I'm doing the fucking that line from Jarhead where the guy goes, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, ladies. I said, are you ready? And they go, yeah. And they go, ooh, I think I just got a hard on. It's like, what the fuck? They were trying a little too hard over there.
I thought you were doing that British announcer.
Oh well, it was almost as bad. Yeah, it was almost as bad. Let's just put it that way. All right, listen. Before we continue and get on with this, shout out to Uncle Pete Skillbender, who says, BDA, you forgot the most important metric on the Spence-Crawford analysis, dog. Well, shout out to you, Pete, but you're wrong. You're dead wrong. I have not forgotten about the dog, and we are going to be looking at that later on. As you can see here, we got the Bucho's patented BDA dogometer, and we're going to be asking who has more dog at the end of this episode, Errol Spence or Terence Crawford. Look, you can talk technique, you can talk matchups and how each guy would fare against the other, their attributes, but the most important thing is the dog. I mean, you don't even need to break the fight down. All you got to say is, well, this guy's got more dog, so he's going to win the fight. It's easy as pie. You can actually even draw a diagram from a logic standpoint, and syllogisms and all that type of shit, and boom, you come up with the same thing, except this one is more simplified. All right. Shout out to Uncle Pete for that. What else? All right, let's get down to it. What are we wasting time here for? Here it is. We've got the attributes that we're going to be taking a look at here. And we're going to start off with the most basic things and also the important things, because, you talk boxing with people, and there's a couple of boxing hipsters out there that will always say, well, skills pay the bills, skills pay the bills, which is true, don't get me wrong. But you can have all the skills in the world. If you don't have world-class talent, physical talent, I'm talking athleticism, hand speed, power, one of those things, you will not be cream of the crop in your division, and let alone the world. All right, so we're going to start off with the speed here and a couple of the more physical elements. So who wants to go first? Between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, who has the speed advantage? Overall speed advantage.
Is it speed, as in hand speed, foot speed? Or are we talking just overall speed? Who's the faster fighter?
Put it to you this way: you're watching boxing with a casual, and he says, "Hey, who's the faster guy?" Just overall, just to
I'd
simplify
say, shut
it
the
for
fuck up. I'm watching the fight. Oh, okay. No, but seriously. No. I would probably, honestly, let's say I'd give a slight Crawford, slight hand speed. He hides his punches a little better. Spence doesn't have overly fast hands. He never really had to. He's always been on the bigger spectrum of the guys he fights.
Uh-huh.
His thing has always just been his size and strength. I don't think he's really ever had to develop hand speed.
Would you characterize Spence as quick?
No, not necessarily.
All right. So Jimmy's giving the speed advantage to Crawford. Gonzalo, what do you think?
I'd say also Terence Crawford is more deceptive. So he's quicker and faster, so you got more speed. And it's not that Errol Spence is slow, but he just works at a steady pace. He's consistent and works at a certain rhythm where he's continual with the punches. So he's not necessarily offsetting the speed between one punch to the other. So he maintains it like level. So I'd say Terence Crawford speed.
Now, going into this fight, and I suppose we're going to break it down more later on in the week when we do the usual film analysis and all that. But I gotta ask though, at 35 years of age, Crawford didn't look all that quick against Avenesian. Do you guys expect him, if he is quicker, can he maintain that speed advantage throughout the night?
I would reckon, say, yeah. I mean, I don't think, was he really trying against that? I mean, I don't know. I don't think he had to, really try to be super fast. Because sometimes when you're as accurate as he is, and, just knowing what punches to throw, when to throw them, a lot of young guys, when they're relying strictly on the speed, they're just doing everything fast just for the sake of being fast.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, sometimes, you can't base it off of one performance. And that's what's a little disappointing about these two guys is that they haven't been all that active. So it's difficult to know or to ascertain. Was it a style thing? Because I'll say this, and I mentioned this in another video. Crawford looked quicker against Porter, but that's because Porter was jumping in like a maniac, and it gave Crawford a better chance to react. Whereas Avenesian, he was feinting, he was switch hitting, he was throwing a bunch of curveballs to Crawford. And like you said, maybe Crawford was like, you know what, why waste shots on this guy? He's a veteran at this point, Crawford. He's not going to start flurrying and shoe shining for nothing. So maybe you might have a point there. Be that as it may, I agree with both you guys. The speed advantage goes to Crawford. I still have questions about whether he can maintain that speed, but hey, I guess we'll see on Saturday. Let's go to the chat here, see what people are saying. Rafael Garza says he has the dog and he passes the eye test. Okay. Never sober says hell nah. TFM says about the same. Mo Dog. There's actually a guy named Mo Dog in the chat. Oh, that's a surprise of the night right there. Or the evening rather. Mo Dog says Crawford really throws combos. Mark T says Spence has to go to the body early and tuck that chin in. Absolutely. Doesn't want to get cracked in there. Ralph Unreal says, smile your boy going to sleep. I don't know what that means. Dog. Okay, people are obsessed with the dog. All right, let's go back to the list here. And by the way, I'm going to open up the phone lines. I'm going to be opening up the phone lines in case people want to check in here and call in every once in a while. Give us their opinion on these attributes here. Let's go with power. Now, this is an interesting one here. Both the guys can crack. Spence goes around breaking orbital bones. Crawford has been on a, 8-9 stoppage winning streak. So, fellas, who wants to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
This is a tricky one because Errol Spence does have the ability to throw probably like a single shot, probably with the equal amount of power as Terence Crawford, but he doesn't load up. He's just consistently stepping to you, thinking about the next punch once again. So he pretty much continues to throw like around the same the same level of punches. Like he'll throw eights consistently. Eights is pretty good. 8 out of 10. For example, from 1 to 10, he'll throw eights. Terence Crawford will throw maybe like sevens, and all of a sudden he'll throw a freaking 9 or 10. Right? But then again, the one that's consistently throwing the slightly heavier blows from beginning to end, it's Errol Spence. But every now and then, Terence Crawford will shoot a quicker, harder blow, but mainly he's throwing like a little less because that's just the way it is. So I'd say I would give it to Errol Spence because Errol Spence is continually throwing the heavier shots all throughout.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
But then again, Crawford can catch it with that one punch. That's all of a sudden it's a 9 or 10 or 9.5. So I'd say pretty even. But since we're going through like, let's say if it goes the more rounds from beginning to end, I'm just gonna say it's Errol Spence. That's it.
But yeah, but that's what I was gonna get to, Gonzalo, because you mentioned the volume and all that and the capacity for him to throw punches. But what I'm trying to get at is punch for punch, single punch. Let's say you tell each guy, hey, hit me in the face once, or hit a machine once too, and let's analyze the data from all those little tests and see punch for punch who hits harder. Punch for punch, who do you think has more power?
Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford. All right, there you go. Jimmy, same question here.
Terence Crawford.
Now, some people would say that it's the speed factor. That if you were to dilute it, he would be the same as Spence. But I gotta say this: you can't take away a guy's attributes. I mean, he's gonna be going in there with speed and power on Saturday. So, if whether the speed contributes to the power or not, the power, I mean, it is what it is. So, I'm gonna go ahead and say Crawford too. But I want to remind people. Just because you give one guy the advantage here on the list doesn't mean that Spence doesn't hit hard. Because I can already envision it. If somebody, if Spence were to stop Crawford, I know people can say, I thought Spence couldn't punch. Like, nobody's saying he can't punch. The opinion of the panel here is that Crawford possesses better one-punch knockout power overall than Errol Spence. Let's go to the chat, see what they're saying. B is for Bitcoin says Spence punches harder for sure. Y'all bugging. Well, I mean, but here's the other flip side to that coin about Crawford's power. Now that I think about it, Crawford's been fighting. He hasn't been fighting the best welterweights, whereas Errol Spence has. And he couldn't stop Porter, he couldn't stop Garcia, but those are guys that are tough. He stopped Algieri. Pacquiao couldn't stop him. So what do you guys think about that?
Well, Crawford stopped Porter. Spence didn't. And Spence also couldn't stop Mickey Garcia, who was a blown-up super featherweight. In fact, I don't even think he rocked him in that fight.
He does have the ability to probably punch harder, but he's not going to do it. He doesn't load up. He's just going to continue stepping to you. At the same speed and power, because he's not thinking about that punch. He's thinking of the one after that and the one after that one. So that's a pretty good trait to have. Not a knock on him, but he's never going to load up, generally speaking. He's never going to go for his big Sunday punch because he's thinking about the long game.
Yeah, I mean,
breaking you down.
Yeah, people need to remember when you're trying to knock out a guy, it's the punch that the opponent doesn't see coming that's going to drop him or that cause a flash knockdown, for example. I would bet good money on Crawford to score more of those throughout his career because of the hand speed advantage, because the punches that he throws, his opponents are not going to see coming. Errol Spence is heavy-handed, but the guys can often see his punches coming, but it's just that he puts them in positions where he wants them, and he makes them climb up. And because they climb up, he's not getting that clean punch in that's going to knock him out with one shot. But he does hit hard. But again, if we were hard-pressed to pick somebody, who's the guy that's scoring more knockdowns? Who's the guy that's got more explosiveness in his shot? Gonzalo put it this way a long time ago. He said Errol Spence has that. He's like a hammer. He's got that thudding power, whereas Crawford has wiry power. It's like a fucking whip with those long-ass orangutan arms of his. So there's no shame here in losing this contest right now on the list. But I think it's fair to give Crawford the advantage just based on the fact that he's been getting more knockdowns. He's got the speed advantage on top of hitting hard. I don't see what the controversy is here. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's like links on a chain with Terence Crawford. Long arms, deceptive. Sometimes I would even say he drops like a little anchor punch, where the legs are moving backwards. He's swinging the arm forward. The arm is looking like it's not traveling that much, but it's like you said, like a whip. And the answer lies within Errol Spence's own words. He keeps touching you. This is what he's always mentioned. He's touching you, and he's placing the punches. Because sometimes a shot that you don't see coming obviously will knock you out, and he could surprise his opponents because maybe they don't see the shot. But he's working at one speed, and he's placing the punch, and he's touching when he's stepping to you. It's like that. He's breaking you. He's breaking you down. So the X factor, the surprise factor, the element of surprise is more with Terence Crawford and that one isolated shot at any given moment. But it doesn't mean that Errol Spence does not punch harder. He does.
Yeah, Jimmy, that's the thing also that gets a lot lost in translation here, it seems. Like, you give one guy the edge, and all of a sudden his fans go, "Wow, why are you saying my guy can't punch?" Like, how would you explain this to people in the chat who might be disagreeing with
I just tell them I'm bugging.
He's on that good shit, as they say. We got Never Sobers jumping in here. Never Sobers, you get the gist of the episode, right?
Yeah, I guess you guys are just weighing, who has advantages where.
That's right, exactly. So, who would you give the advantage in terms of punching power here?
Well, traditionally, I'd say Spence, because he's a welterweight and he's a bigger dude physically, but he hasn't really knocked anybody out like that recently. Well, I don't know, because you could Terence Crawford's those magical exploding gloves could be a little suspect, but he did knock out Avanesian in devastating fashion.
Right.
And you haven't really seen Errol Spence really do that to anybody in a while. But he does. They are calling him the eye taker because he's breaking his opponent's eye sockets. So you got to be able to hit hard to do that. So I'm not sure who I'd give the advantage to. You have on it for a couple minutes. Maybe someone else can tell you first.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Well, I would.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
I was going to say I'd rate because Spence, I believe, also hits harder with both hands. He can hit hard with both hands too. He just turns them over a little bit more. I think he also is a meaner kid. I think he would, you know what I mean? Like, he's just out of the two. Spence fights because it pays the bills and it's made him wealthy. Crawford fights because that's what he does. I just think he's the more of the fighter of the two.
That's veering very close on dog argument, but I'll let it slide. Shout out to Jaden Anthony for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, put it this way, Errol will need a barrage of punches to finish Crawford, whereas I believe Crawford can put EJ on Queer Street with one punch. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell people too, but you're always going to get some people out there that disagree. It's like, nah. It's like they make it out as if you're crazy. But anyway, it is what it is. So we can all agree that Crawford has the power advantage here. All right. Let's actually, you know what? By the way, the phone lines are open in case anybody wants to call in. Every once in a while, we'll check the phone lines, see if people want to comment on this list, what they disagree with, what they agree with. Just make some comments. And the phone number is right there in the left-hand portion of your screen. The lower portion of the screen there. Hopefully, you can see the phone number. If not, I'll just post it here in the chat. All right. Meantime, let's go back to the list here. We're doing good here. We're doing well, actually, because usually it takes us about 3 hours to get through this. We're already down 2 categories. Ring IQ, meaning intelligence here. Who's got the better boxing brain, the fresher brain?
Crawford. I think he does more things well. I think what Spence does, he does steady. He does his things he does well, but you're going to get more nuances out of Crawford. He can fight going backwards. He can counter. He can be offensive. I like his punch selection again. I think is more varied. I think he sets traps much better. I watched Spence try all night to set a trap for Mickey Garcia, and he couldn't implement one. So yes, my vote is Crawford.
All right, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna go Errol Spence in that one. I see what Jimmy's saying, and I respect it. I respect his point of views. And this is a pick'em, so they're pretty evenly matched. It's not like one guy is blowing the other guy out of the water. But Errol Spence, he's more fundamentally sound, in my opinion. He's more textbook. Like, once again, go through the numbers, touching you consistently, working on that boxing, on those punches. Fundamentally, he's pretty good. And the thing, okay, well, Terence Crawford, he does everything that Jimmy said. He's also a switch hitter, but you don't want to be switching against a lefty. Lefty versus a lefty is going to spell disaster, even though people say you're equal on both sides. Now, you're always going to have a weaker one. And you don't want to do that, in my opinion. I'm just going to say Errol Spence. Errol Spence. He hit you. He can belt you with the right, belt you with the left, to the kidneys, or to the liver, the pit of the stomach, upstairs, right and left hand, any which way, any type of punch. So I'm just gonna say that Errol Spence.
Well, okay, wait a
Okay,
minute.
one more thing about PA. Terence Crawford makes more mistakes, I think. Although Errol Spence makes mistakes as well. Yeah, he makes more mistakes. He takes a little bit of a few rounds off in the beginning where he gets caught cold, like he did against Kavaliauskas. Okay, that's it.
Okay, very interesting, man. Very interesting points. We've got a tie so far. The first one of the evening, where Jimmy's saying, giving Crawford the advantage in ring IQ, Gonzalo giving it to Errol Spence. Never Sobers, what do you think about this?
Well, okay, before I say the ring IQ, let me say I thought about the power, and I think Errol Spence is heavier handed. And I think Crawford has more snap in his punch. And I think while you can tell that Spence is heavier handed, you can just see the visible damage on his opponents more than Crawford. And ring IQ goes, I would give that to, I'd say Crawford, just because off the basis of that, if he needs to switch it up, he can do more, you know. And not Terrence, but Errol Spence comes in with like a workhorse mentality. You know, he comes in, his boxing is kind of the same as his coming forward. Like, he's done nothing special, nothing flashy, and like I know that maybe that doesn't translate to ring IQ, but I just don't see him switching up much in the ring. If he needs to make adjustments, you know, he's either going to do the same thing he's doing, but just turn it up a little bit. And someone like Crawford, he'll like try to hit different angles. He'll get aggressive, or he'll try to bait you into counters. You know, I just think he has a higher ring IQ because of that. He has more options in there, I guess.
You're talking about Crawford then? Now I started getting a little confused there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Crawford has. Crawford. I give him that ring IQ advantage.
Well, in terms of the power, you were, I think if I remember correctly, it was Jimmy, Gonzalo, and myself said Crawford has a better power. So you're still overruled on that one, but it's good to know that there is some disagreement there. That because again, that's a tricky one, the power thing. Now ring IQ, you're saying Crawford. Now I have to break the tie that, well, actually it's an advantage here, but I got to weigh in. But before we weigh in, I'm going to leave you guys in a little bit of suspense. I'm going to go to the phone lines here and take a phone call from 925. 925, you're on the air. 925, what's on your mind?
Yo, how we doing, man? Yo, I got Crawford with the ring IQ, but I agree with old boy. I think Spence got the power, man. I think he's the bigger, stronger welterweight. Crawford, I think his power is a little more, like, I think his power comes from, like, surprise attacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, whipping attacks versus Spence. Spence got, like, an overall strength and power punch to him. You know what I'm saying? More physical, you know, hit you and really do damage overall versus Crawford is more of a surprising power, you know? So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but power's power. Whether it's surprising or not, you know, if the guy's knocking people out, he's knocking people out. I will say this, though. with Crawford again, the quality of opposition, maybe that could be a bit of an illusion of why he's hitting harder. But the flip side to that coin also is, like Jimmy mentioned, Errol Spence couldn't stop Mikey Garcia, couldn't wobble him, couldn't drop him. Isn't that a little worrisome?
Yeah,
I mean, I'd say
Mikey Garcia,
like you said, quality. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
No, bro, I interrupted you.
Yeah, do your thing.
Go ahead, caller.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, you know what I'm saying? You know, you're talking about quality opponent. I think Mikey Garcia was, at the time, better quality. You know what I'm saying? So getting a stoppage on him may probably be a little more out of range versus the quality that Crawford had. I feel like you said, it could have been an illusion. I'm not knocking Crawford's power. I think Crawford is amazing, got stupid strength, and he is strong, you know. But I think Spence's punch is heavier, you know. But it depends on what type of power you're talking about. You're just talking about knockout ratings, or are we talking about just actual general power? You know, if I feel like you're talking about that, then I think Spence edges that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's what I was getting at too. It's like punch for punch, just single punch versus single punch, which is harder? And I guess the consensus was
I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Spence can, you know, just that one punch power, I feel like Spence is probably, you will feel the effects on it if you see it coming. But Crawford has a way of setting up his punches where you don't see them coming, and we all know the ones that you don't see coming is the ones that really get you out of there. So, you know, to each his own with that.
All right, there you go. All right, thank you, caller. Thank you for your call. By the way, caller, have you given your prediction yet on the show?
Yeah. I got you know, besides what I just said, I got Crawford by stoppage, though. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like all around he's a better fighter. I do. I mean, I'm just being 100. I think Crawford is the better fighter. I just think he's the more complete fighter. He's dimensional. I don't think Spence is a one-trick pony, but you know what he's bringing to the table. I don't think he's going to change it up this fight. I think he's going to do what he's been doing to collect all these belts. And Crawford is going to do what he's been doing, but he has the ability to adjust when plan A isn't working. So I think the ability to adjust and how dimensional he is, he's going to be able to stop Spence. But we'll see.
All right. Interesting breakdown. Now, by the way, who is this? So I can write it down on the list here.
This is Q from Oakland, California.
Q from Oakland. All right. 2 more weeks, right? And then it's happening. All right.
Yep, man.
All right. All right. Take it easy, Q. Thank you for your call. Thank you, man. Call back next time. Take it easy out there. All right. See, it's interesting, man. This is people are having disagreements about the power, the speed, which usually means the more disagreement, the better the fight. Now, let's get back to the ring IQ. You guys, we got 2 people saying Crawford has the ring IQ advantage, you know, the better brain, the better boxing brain. One person said Spence. I'll try not to overcomplicate it. Spence can box from the outside. He's got long-ass arms. He's got a good jab. Pretty big for a welterweight. And he's got good timing, too. That being said, when he fights off the back foot, which he can have, you know, he did it against Danny Garcia a little bit in certain spots when he wanted to calibrate or recoup his oxygen. He was moving well around the ring. He can also punch off the back foot with the left hand. But I haven't seen him, when he's backing up, I've never really seen him counter with right hooks or what people call a check hook. I don't see that from him. Whereas Crawford, you know, again, the flip side to Crawford is we haven't really seen him fight on the inside too much, although I've seen glimpses of it and in sparring as well, that he can fight on the inside. But when he backs up, he's a much better counterpuncher than Spence. He can counter with both hands. And also, here's the thing. When people say, I saw this argument on Twitter. People were saying, well, you know, Spence fought Porter the way he fought him, you know, on the inside because he wanted to beat him at his own game. I don't buy that, man. I saw Spence trying to outbox him for 4 rounds, backing up, trying to catch him on the way in. And then he ended up getting into war because he couldn't do that. Plan A wasn't working. So he didn't do it necessarily because, you know, he could have outboxed him, but he chose to fight him on the inside. He couldn't outbox him. At least not the same way Crawford did. So, you know, both guys have flaws. Like Gonzalo said, Crawford tends to drop his hands. He makes a lot of mistakes too. But so does Spence. But I suppose that if we're talking about all-around versatility, who can box on the outside, who can press the fight. Crawford also has an underrated cut-off game. He knows how to cut the ring off very well. I'm going to give the edge to Crawford. Again, that doesn't mean Spence is a dummy, but I'm going to give the edge to Crawford here. And I can already see Spence fans sort of losing their shit a little bit because on the list here. He's down 3. He's down 3-0, man. But hey, hold on. We'll see. The evening is young. We'll see what happens. By the way, shout out to D. Luckett for his contribution to Super Chat. He says Spence has to sit on his punches to generate power, but has power either way. See, that's another good way of putting it. If you don't really have to do, if you can just punch on the fly and still knock motherfuckers out, usually means your power is better. All right, let's go back to the list here. We're at
BDA. Can I touch on what the caller's talking about? Or I think you brought up with Mikey and how he had Spence couldn't knock him out. I think you could classify Mikey as a master boxer, and he like kind of knows how to keep himself safe, right? So I think it'd be hard to stop someone like him. He shelled up pretty well, and he knows how to keep himself from getting knocked out. And to compare him, I mean, the knockout power with Crawford recently, like when he was fighting Sean Porter, that fight was extremely close, and those knockdowns were more off of Sean Porter getting over aggressive and getting caught on the inside, and then his dad did that weird stoppage. And then in his next fight with Avanesian, I think Errol Spence probably could have stopped him faster.
Interesting.
Than Crawford did, you know?
Interesting.
So I remember Go ahead, my bad.
No, I remember the Mikey fight, and they were close to stopping it in the 10th round in the corner. Big G, Mikey Garcia's dad, he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna stop it because of the body shot." So he was breaking them down. But then again, and Terence and Errol Spence's corner, Derek James told him, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you stop him?" And then he said, "I can't."
Oh.
And credit to Mikey, he got on his chest. So instead of like remaining at the mid range or on the outside, he got on his chest and took his ability to catch him clean.
I gotta tell you though, and by the way, hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. That Mikey Garcia performance. I mean, he won virtually every round. But then people bring up Mikey Garcia. Something like, man, Mikey Garcia, man, he's good. But when people talk about Gennady Golovkin, they don't give him credit for the Kell Brook fight. He stopped him. They don't want to give Lomachenko credit for the Rigondeaux fight, but he stopped Rigondeaux, and he didn't even use his size advantage to do it. He just outboxed the motherfucker, made him quit. When Canelo fought Khan, knocked his ass out, smaller guy, knocked him out. So you're supposed to knock out the smaller guy coming up. Now, I guess people can make an argument that Mikey Garcia is better than Kell Brook, than Amir Khan, and than Guillermo Rigondeaux. But I mean, fucking Rigondeaux, if he doesn't want you to hit him, you won't hit him. He'll just run around the ring and stink out the joint, and even if he loses, he still didn't take any punches. Couldn't do that against Lomachenko. So what I'm saying is, if you really want to be the top dog, you got to stop the smaller guys. And he couldn't even drop.
He should have knocked out Mikey, yeah.
Right. So I mean, listen, it's high standards, right? Then again, just because he couldn't knock out Mikey Garcia, I mean, he could knock out Mikey Garcia, but the others, the argument I've heard for that is, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because when he fought a bigger guy in Ugas, he did stop him. So I guess it goes both ways. But come on, man, that Mikey Garcia fight, it's still there, man. You can't just forget about it. You can't erase it from history. So, but anyway, we're harping on too much on the power here. We got to go back to the list here. Go back. Let's get back down to brass tacks here and go to experience. Who is the more experienced fighter? Both guys have a good resume. Spence has been the best welterweights out there for the moment, bar Crawford. Crawford is a 3-division champion, for whatever that's worth nowadays, you know, the term champion. But he has been a professional since, I believe, 2008. He's a veteran now. He's got 30-something fights to his record. So, guys, who has the experience advantage?
I think Terence Crawford got 40 fights, and they probably had about the same amount of rounds. I think Errol Spence probably had the longer amateur career. I'm not sure about that one, but I think Terence Crawford didn't, and he had more losses. In the professional ranks and everything, all combined, who's older? Terence Crawford 36, while Errol Spence is maybe 33. Experience-wise, in general, damn, that's a close one. I'm just gonna say That's a hard one to pick, BDA. That's a
All right,
hard
all
one to
right.
pick. I'm just gonna say Terence Crawford. I want to say Errol Spence because I give him the ring IQ, and they kind of go hand in hand.
Well, can I also
But
say
I
this,
got
Gonzalo?
to do it with that one too.
Okay, think about it this way too. Experience also means who has gone through more experiences, a larger variety of experiences throughout the career. So who's been in wars, who's been in a fight where they had to come back, behind on points, who's the guy who's fought the more versatile, the larger versatility of fighters, or the more, who's fought punchers, boxers, a whole variety of guys. Who, when I frame it that way, maybe that can give you a better idea of what I'm talking about here.
Still difficult. I'm gonna say it specifically at welterweight.
Overall.
Overall, damn, this Soto Dix is 5'9". This I gotta fucking say something, huh? I'm just gonna
Okay,
go with.
wait. You can invoke a timeout, and we'll move on to another panelist if you want. Give you a little more time to think.
I'm gonna say Errol Spence. Something's telling me Terence Crawford. I'm gonna say Errol Spence.
Oh, he's pulling the trigger on that one. All right. So Gonzalo
Yeah,
says.
specifically to welter and everything. So I'm just gonna say that.
All right. Gonzalo says Errol Spence. Jimmy, the way I explained it to Gonzalo, does that make sense about the experience?
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with Gonzalo. It's like one of those things that's so equal. I mean, experience is a hard thing to say, but I mean, they've both been in big fights. They both headlined. I mean, if you say experience, is that amount of they've been fighting? I know if you use activity as experience right now, Crawford's the more active of the two. Spence has fought twice in the last 4 years. So,
Yeah, Jimmy, good point. I'm just gonna interject. Well, let's say this: his experience in general. Errol Spence been fighting. He's a career welterweight, kind of like Golovkin, only fought at middleweight. So he's got the vaster experience, in my opinion, at that one division. But okay, I get it completely. My bad.
right, so it's one of those things. Like, I don't know, it's a pick 'em to me. So if you want to give it to Spence, I'll give it to Spence to give the kid a win on something. But if you want to go that route,
well, wait a minute.
To be honest with you, it's just a kind of a pick 'em. I don't really. Yeah. That's one of those things that's hard to rate.
We're not gonna give pity points here.
So
it's not like that old. We're not gonna give pity points here. It's not like that. The fucking the judges when they go, well, I gave this guy 4 rounds in a row already. Let me give it to the other guy. Nah. If you guys feel that one guy has the advantage over the other in a certain category, we got to go with that. Let's not focus on the how many categories has one guy won so far. So, Jimmy, you said you'd give it to Spence, but is that your final answer?
No. If you want to if you want to do it like that, then no, I would say overall, because I'm going to count the one thing that's the most important to me is experience in the amount of fights they fought recently. And right now, Crawford's the more experienced because he's been fighting more often. Not tremendously more often, but he has been fighting. It's going to be one of Spence's biggest hurdle is his ring rust. I believe he's going to get in there and realize under the hot lights when he's just not going to get his punches off as quick as he wants to. Ring rust is a real thing. Nobody beats ring rust. It's like an age. Mm-hmm. You cannot not have professional boxing matches for 2 years and expect it not to affect you negatively.
That's an excellent point right there as well, man. All right, so we got 2 Crawfords then for experience. Never Sobers, you want to weigh in on this one?
Yeah, I'd like to think that they both have like really similar experiences. I think they're pretty evenly matched. If you have to give one of them a slight edge, I mean, maybe at the weight, you could say Spence has more experience. He'll be more adjusted to fighting at the weight class they're going to fight at. But overall, career-wise, you might say that Crawford has been through more weight classes and seen more styles and had to do more to win fights than Errol Spence has. So you could give a slight edge to experience. Maybe I'd say Crawford, but I think they're both pretty even in this category,
Yeah, I mean, the way I framed it was experience. We're talking about the type of opponents they fought, the class of opponents they fought, how long they've been fighting, Have they needed to adjust in fights and come from behind? Crawford's done that against Gamboa. He needed to adjust. He was losing the early rounds. He adjusted and came back strong. He was losing the first couple of rounds against Kavaliauskas, and then he switched the script on Kavaliauskas. So he's been able to do that type of stuff. He's fought a variety of styles too. Postal is a natural counterpuncher. He beat him. He's beaten long-range guys too, like Postal and Benavides. He's also beat short, stocky guys powerful guys like Gamboa and Kavaliauskas. Meanwhile, Spence too has fought his share of different styles. Chris Algieri, what's his name? Ugas. Ugas, who's a short, a strong guy, really tries to catch and shoot with your ass, and that's what Errol Spence beat him at. Actually, beat his ass, broke him down. Sean Porter, a slugger. Kell Brook, boxer, puncher. So he's fought. I mean, it's a close one, man. It's a close one. If I'll give an edge to somebody, I'll give it to Crawford because I just, I think he had, not only has he been fighting longer, but like Jimmy said, he's been more active. And I just feel too that that's about it, man. It's the overall amount of fights he's had. And I guess, he's fought the same type of styles. I mean, he's fought a variety of styles, but then he's fought them often as well. Like I said, two longer, taller guys in Benavides and Postal. He's fought, like I said, Kavaliauskas, Gamboa. What's his name? Diaz, Felix Diaz. I think he was a gold medalist. In that fight, wasn't.
Yeah, Diaz was a good win for him, and no one talks about that fight. That was a good win for Crawford.
Indongo was another tall guy. So he's fought a different variety of styles and then fought them more often than Spence has. I mean, if you want to talk about when's the last time Spence fought a guy that was taller than him, you really can't, right?
Exactly. And at the time of that Felix Diaz win, that was a good win. Like Nevasoba just said, you know what I mean? He was a highly touted kid coming out of the images, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Crawford his first loss.
I think so. I think he might have had a draw, but no losses. Yeah. I don't remember if that was after the Peterson fight or before, or I'm forgetting here. I could check. Let me just check just to make sure. Then again, Spence, another, if I had to give Spence an underrated win too, Bondu. That was he knocked his ass out, whereas Thurman couldn't do it. Where is it here? Let me just check real quick, man. Yeah, I'm starting to forget about certain fights now. Felix Diaz. Yeah, well, Diaz had one loss. I think that was the Peterson fight. I thought that was a draw. Let me just check real quick here. Yeah, he lost to Lamont Peterson, majority decision. It was. I remember it was a competitive fight.
And say what you want to say about what's his name, Danny Garcia, at welter, but nobody had really kicked his ass like Errol Spence did. Everybody had gone close with him. I thought he beat him up pretty good. That's Errol Spence.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, you can go back and forth here with this stuff, but I just, if I had to give, like I said, give Crawford the edge, it's based on quantity and the fact that because of that quantity, he's faced a different variety of styles more often than Errol Spence. So there is that to consider there. So we're going to go with experience. We're going to give it to Crawford. There we go. All right, now we go to footwork. Who has the better foot? Now, again, to clarify, it doesn't mean who has the faster feet. We're talking about who's in balance more after a punch. Who's got the better footwork to stay set? Who gets dropped more or put out of position because of bad footwork? Those are the type of things we consider here. So let's have at it. Footwork. Who's got the advantage?
Yeah, so it's right there within the word. It says movement. Who moves? Who's in better balance? BDA, I would have to say Errol Spence. Although they both got good and bad footwork. They put like Terence Crawford, he spins out and around pretty good at times, like we saw on your clips in the two episodes ago, I think, or three. Yeah, he spins out and around, but they both got good and bad. Sometimes Terence Crawford, he opens his legs too far apart. He falls apart too wide. And looking kind of clumsy at times. But sometimes he's looking like really good as well. So good and bad. But with Errol Spence, more specifically to the movement, So he's continuously stepping to you. He's stepping to you. His feet are always in position. Along with the hands to have that good balance to either drop the hammer with the right or left or right. So, he can throw the punches well from either side because he got the good balance, meaning that his legs are always under him. And I would have to say when he's steadily stepping to you, he got the good foot movement. All right. And as somebody else mentioned, he punches hard too because he sits down on the shots. So his feet are always under him once again. Errol Spence.
Errol Spence. All right, there we go. Gonzalo going with Errol Spence. Who else wants to go next?
I would say that Terence Crawford has a better foot movement just because he's got faster feet and he can get around hit the angles on his opponents more often. And he's been caught off balance once or twice, but so was Errol Spence, and he's a lot more flat-footed. So I'd say as far as foot movement goes, I'd say Crawford is more fleet-footed, and he can dance around you if he needs to, and he can get on the inside and step around you and land his shots if he needs. I think he's better with his foot movement.
All right, Jimmy.
I don't. I footwork, like I like Gonzalo. I like the breaks down. Is pretty much he stays pretty much steady. You know what I mean? But footwork. See, I like the way Crawford moves better. I think he circles out. I think he's crafty with his foot. But Crawford, Spence tends to be more steady. It's very similar. He does the same thing, but he does it well. But overall footwork, I'm going to go with Crawford, and I'll leave the rest to you guys.
Well, I got to tell you, when it comes to footwork, both guys can fight coming forward or retreating, but Crawford can move side to side better, and his pivots are overall smoother than Spence's. I've yet to see Spence. Now, that could potentially be because he's never really been on the back foot much other than in the Porter fight. Nevertheless, from what I've seen, we can only go by what we see and the data we have and the fights we have. So I'm going to give it to Crawford. And it's starting to look like a wipeout here in terms of the category thing. But again, this doesn't mean that Crawford is that much better in all these categories. This doesn't translate into a win. Let's go to the phone lines, by the way. We got a couple of phone calls here. People want to chime in on the list here, see what they got to say. Let's go to 416. 416, you're on the air. 416, what's on your mind?
What's up, BDA, Gonzalo, Jimmy, crew?
What's up, man?
Yeah, it's Rick Star. Yeah, well, Errol Spence has the experience from like a crash test dummy. Like he got launched from that Ferrari, so Bud Crawford's gonna launch him out of the ring. So he'll have that ability to kind of, but when his face ain't gonna land on the canvas, he's gonna land outside of the ring. So most likely it's concrete foundation. So it'll have a reminiscent of the pavement. But on a real talk,
that wasn't real.
I think Bud Crawford knows that he has all the cards stacked kind of against him with this PBC fucking production. All right, like the judges are probably going to be Al Heyman's neighbors. The ref's going to be like kind of been given direction. So, and knowing, as you guys are all already calculating, the numbers are coming in Crawford's direction. So Crawford has the tactility, he has the skill set. Now, my prediction would be a Crawford knockout by 10. Like either stoppage, like TKO stoppage, or a full KO. Because as Jimmy said, his he has nothing recent in regards to like recent fights. So that ring rust will kind of play in effect. I mean, you know, and this is probably the biggest fight of both their careers. So he'll be walking into the ring with some jitters. So, yeah, Crawford's gonna reenact Spence's crash test dummy kind of pull being launched out of the.
All right. All right, so because there's some people in the chat saying that Crawford's gonna go the distance, he's gonna get robbed, but you don't think it's gonna go to that. You think he's gonna stop Errol Spence?
Crawford has to TKO or full KO to get the win. Has to. Otherwise it'll be another Cambosos, Rolly Romero, Devin Haney, Shamazo. It'll come down to the judges, and Al Heyman will have the Oprah Winfrey envelope underneath the chair.
All right. All right. Well, listen. Thank you for your call there, Rick Star. Thank you for your prediction as well. I wrote it down. We're getting a lot of them now. And we'll catch you on the next one, all right, man? Take it easy out there.
Yo.
All right, that was Rick Star. Shout out to him. Let's go to another phone call. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. And then we got to go back to the list here. 832, you're on the air. 832, what's on your mind?
Oh, hey, yo, this is a straight G Turo. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, straight G. What's up, man?
Hey, all right. So look, man, I don't know. I think y'all wrote my prediction down, right? But I got Errol Spence stopping Terence Crawford in round 12, the very last round.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. Terence Crawford. I think, look, based on all of these things: speed, power, ring IQ, experience, footwork, chin, stamina, mental strength. I think all of these favor Errol Spence. Truth be told, I think he's got more experience. He's fought better opposition. You know, I think we all know that by now. I mean, Terence Crawford, I'm not going to, shit on his resume, but, he has a gold medalist, Felix Diaz, Postal. I guess those are decent wins, right? But for the most part, he's just been fighting Spence leftovers at 147. And dudes with one leg, I'm just saying, bro, I think Terence Crawford, he's determined. He's a determined fighter. I think he has dogs, like they say. But I think Errol Spence is gonna beat the dog shit out of him. That's what I think.
All right. Well, listen, we're gonna be doing another show after tomorrow or later on this week where we're gonna really try to analyze that and get down to it. For the moment, we do have to get back to the list, but it's refreshing to hear somebody who's got because so many people here so far are picking. Crawford. And again, the list here that we've got doesn't necessarily mean that either guy has the advantage over the other that much in any single category. So we shall see. But it's very, very close, man, in terms of experience, ring IQ, power. It's not a given that maybe Spence. It seems to us that Crawford hits harder. Maybe it's Spence. I mean, who the fuck knows? But we'll see what happens there, Straight G.
Hey, one thing too. One thing I wanted to address real quick. People are saying that Mikey Garcia should have been stopped, right? Well, if it was that easy, bro, in my opinion, I think Mikey Garcia, at the time when he moved up, he was beating everyone at 140, 135. Honestly, I think he would have beaten Terence Crawford too. I think that time he chose the tougher fight, which was Errol Spence. I
don't know
about my opinion.
Straight G, he kind of you could argue that he kind of ducked Terence Crawford to fight Errol Spence.
I think the opposite. I think Terence. Well, I mean, there was a lot of Mikey Garcia wasn't really seeing eye to eye with Top Rank at the time, but I still think Mikey Garcia in his prime in those years, I think he would have dropped Terence Crawford at least and just beaten him up, figure something out. He would have figured him out, and I think he would have beat the snot out of Crawford. I think Crawford, in my opinion, is a little bit overrated. The dudes he fought, like I said, Spence leftovers, dudes in the lower weight classes. But I guess he's been more active lately. So if anything, it works in his favor. I'm pretty sure he won't have quote unquote ring rust. But that's really the only thing I could see. He's got going for himself.
Straight G, yeah, we gotta go back to the list here, but I do agree with you on that. I do think Crawford's been a little bit overrated. He shouldn't be number one pound for pound. That's why I say he's overrated because he hasn't done the work to earn that. But be that as it may, we'll see what happens on Saturday, man. We gotta get back to the list. I don't know what to say to that, man. We'll talk more about this later on in the week, man. All right, Straight G, thank you for your call, man. Thank
Have a good one.
You too, man. You too. All right, I see we got 2 more phone calls here, but guys on the phone line there on the phone, let us get through this list a little bit more, and then we'll get back to you, right? Well, let's give it about like 5-7 minutes, and we'll return to the phone lines. In this instance, we got to go back here to the list. We gave foot movement to Crawford. Now we're on the chin. Who has the better chin, Crawford or Spence?
I'll go first if you go on. I think who has a better chin? I think this is Errol Spence. I think he doesn't get. He's been shooken up, but he recovers pretty fast, and I don't think he's ever been shaken up. Like he's getting shaken up by say Danny Garcia kind of shook him up a little bit. That's a 140 guy, but Crawford seems maybe the way he stands, the way he gets caught, he makes himself vulnerable. Like when Gamboa did it to him, and Gamboa's like really a 126 pounder dude. Like he shouldn't have been at 135. He looked like swollen full of water at that weight. So if Gamboa was rocking him, I'm for sure easy to say that Spence has a better chin.
All right. Never so was going with Spence. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also gonna say Errol Spence. Although Terence Crawford, I mean, yeah, he's never been officially, I think, dropped. Gamboa hurt him. He had him on spaghetti legs, and Kavaliuskas dropped him, but they didn't count it. And if you look at them, I think Errol Spence got the thicker neck. He's got the wider neck, and he's a bigger guy. All the while, I'm not saying that Terence Crawford's weak, but he looks like his neck is more like a pencil neck, a little head, like an eraser.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, Errol Spence looks like he's got a bigger neck, and the thing with he got rattled by Ugas, I think it was more of a thing that he was looking for his mouthpiece. Come to find out, so I'm just gonna say, yeah, Errol Spence.
Errol Spence. All right, we got 2 Errol Spences. Jimmy, where are you falling on this?
Right now, if you add up, if you count like I'm sorry, I'll say Spence, but I was gonna say honestly though, I thought he wasn't taking those punches well against Ugas, who only has a 34% knockout ratio. I thought he was hurt twice to the body and twice to the head. But overall, yeah, I would say Spence. Why not? We'll just go with that. Fuck it.
Well, now see that.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Was that?
No, not that. I was saying, fuck it, we'll do it live.
Oh, all right. Because I was going to say that we can put that into context too. I understand what you're saying, although it's speculative, but you'll see what I mean by that when we get to the next category. Because if you look at the context too, yeah, that could be the context of the past fights could play a factor into determining whether one guy still has a good chin or not. But I'm going to go ahead and say Spence as well. I think he's got a better chin. I think partially the Crawford's problem is, as I mentioned before in other videos, is he drops his hands way too much. He relies on those reflexes and that speed advantage, and that's why he gets clipped and gets hurt more often. But that being said, we can only go by what we see, and what we've seen and what I've seen with the rest of you guys is Crawford getting rocked more often than Spence, and Spence has been fighting bigger guys. So then again, he's a big guy himself. So I mean, I don't know, but just to simplify it, we'll give it to Spence. Let's go to the phone call here. Like I said, we're going to go back to a phone call after another category. Let's go to 713 real quick. 713, you're on the air. 713, what's on your mind? 713, you're on the air. Going once. Going twice. 713, are you there? All right. Call back next time, man. I mean, call back later, I should say. All right, let's go back to the stamina here thing. Who has a better stamina, Errol Spence or Terence Crawford?
I would say that Errol Spence has better stamina. He kind of, I would say, he has like not one gear, but he has like almost, you could say he does like the same style, and he just turns it up every round, and he's almost like a train picking up speed. And he can go hard for 12 rounds. He'll go toe to toe for 12 rounds, and Crawford will start to run, and he'll need to catch his breath in for some rounds. So I think Errol Spence can keep coming at you for 12 rounds. So I give him the stamina advantage here.
Those are great points.
Go ahead, Gonzalo, yes?
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, those are great points by Never Sober, but I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go for Terence Crawford. I think he's more suited for the weight. Going back to the whole Mikey thing, the example I mentioned, when the corner told Errol Spence, you can knock him out, and he says, I can't. That's related to the weight cut. He's a big dude down the stretch around the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That stamina's going to suffer, right? He's going to suffer. He's not going to be able to put the pressure and possibly get Terence Crawford out of there. As I mentioned when I alluded to Mikey Garcia, that example. He said, I couldn't do it. Now he's much older, so it's probably more difficult to make the weight. It all depends on the preparation. And we saw Terence Crawford when he fought, for example, Sean Porter. They said, you're even on the cards. And then he said, wait a minute. I'm even? Okay, then the next round, all of a sudden, he went out there and knocked him out. Like, he elevated the game. The stamina was there to, adjust, get him out of there. So it's one of those things. Yeah, good points by Never Sober. But I'm just going to go with Terence Crawford because he's more suited as a natural welterweight at this point. They say he's smaller, but he's not. He's for sure. He's not struggling to make the 147.
So you're going with. So who'd you say?
Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford. Okay, so it's 1-1 here. All right, Jimmy.
Crawford for the same exact reasons. Although it's never so many great points, but I think as he gets older, every time he peels that weight off, he's eating probably 15, 20 pounds of muscle to get down to 147, and that does affect you. And in the exact same point I was going to make that Gonzalo made, how fresh he was. He doesn't even breathe heavy. At the end of the 10th round, or the end of the 9th round, where there was a lot of movement with Porter, his corner said, just you're even, or maybe even down on the card. And he went, what? And again, they said they were doing that to psychological, and he was like, yeah, really? And it was just the expressions on his face, like he went. It was after the first round. He got up on his feet, pop, 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 and went out and fucking put it on him. So yeah, I haven't seen a gas tank problem at all with Crawford. And again, this is speculation, but I'm just going by the size of Crawford. 4 years old, peeling off that weight. It's going to affect him sometimes. So yeah, Crawford. I'm gone.
Because I saw, what's his name? Spence, he'll turn it up sometimes. I mean, he'll come forward, poke with the jab, straight left here, straight left there. And then sometimes he'll turn it up and just get on the guy's chest and go bam, 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 go with the body shots and flurry. And then he'll step back and do the same thing, jab, 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 straight left. And then he'll go back around later. And that's how he breaks guys down. Against Danny Garcia, he couldn't stop him. But again, that's no... it's Danny fucking Garcia. The guy no one's ever stopped him. Keith Thurman couldn't do it, and he hits hard as fuck and hit him clean in the first 3 rounds and couldn't get him out of there. So there's no shame in that. But and Errol Spence though, so he controls the pace, he puts the pressure on guys. But I did see him tire a little against Danny Garcia. Then like Gonzalo said, the whole Mikey Garcia's fiasco, where he said, yeah, I tried to stop. First he said he tried to box him. Then the truth came out. He said, well, I tried to stop him, but I couldn't. I didn't have the stamina to do it. Crawford, I've never seen him appreciably tired. Every time he goes back to the corner, he's not breathing hard. Now, on the one hand, he controls the pace of the fight. He hasn't fought the best welterweight, so maybe that has something to do with it, with allowing him to control the pace and controlling the pace of the fight. Therefore, he's rarely tired. I don't know, man. That's why I said earlier about the context. When we talk about Spence's chin before, we gave him the advantage in chin, but then the question is, can he take shots now with the way he's been leading his lifestyle? Well, the same could apply to Crawford in the stamina section here. How's his stamina going to be at 35 years of age? It's not like he's fought the best welterweights. He hasn't been pushed that much. So if push comes to shove and Spence puts it on him and it becomes a war, can Crawford at 35 years of age keep firing those quick volleys of his, which take a lot of energy, and keep doing so
Yeah,
for 12
but how many
rounds?
times you have seen Dubai Baby videos by Crawford? How many times we've seen every time we see Spence out in public, he's fucking 3 sheets to the wind, and then he's old ladies putting out videos of him completely wasted, like slurring drunk. So I believe lifestyle outside the ring isn't conducive for stamina. So I'll add that too.
Yeah, but I mean that also shows the fact that Crawford's 35 years of age.
Yeah, but Spencer's 34 and a fucking drunk.
He's 33.
All right, he's a drunk. That adds 10 years.
Yeah, Spencer's 33.
Yeah, I don't know about
But
the
I don't
stamina.
know. This is all
here.
fucking speculation. I know. I'm just
I don't know
fucking
about the
around.
stamina. I don't know about the stamina here, man. Well, Chief, we got the Chief dropping, but maybe he can break the tie here because I'm on the
Is
side.
that Chief? Oh, okay.
Chief, who would you give the advantage to in terms of stamina?
We have to go to Crawford right now based off the fact we've never seen him breathe heavy. But I haven't seen Spence really tire either. I've never seen either one of them in a war of attrition to test their stamina, really, to be honest with you, because Spence has been too strong for most of his opponents. He was breathing heavy and wearing down and seemed a bit exhausted at the end of the Porter fight. So when he was tested in a fight that some thought he lost, barely, he was breathing kind of heavy. Crawford doesn't put himself in that situation because he controls his pace. He controls the pace of the fight. He hits hard enough to where that's how he controls the fight. He hits just hard enough to where no one's going to try and press him too much. Kevluskas tried for a brief second and failed and wore himself out. Nobody else has really pushed Crawford at any weight he's been at to try and make him wear down. And this is the biggest opponent he's ever faced. But it's an opponent who was 152 pounds in the amateurs, has been complaining about cutting weight. As Jimmy said, he might be cutting muscle in addition to fat. We know he's cutting some fat too. We know his lifestyle is cutting some of his time in camp is fat camp. Crawford's never out of shape. I got to go with stamina. Crawford, speed same, power same, IQ same. Yeah, I'm agreeing. I'm looking over the list. Experience, I would say it's even because the echelon of welterweights faced by Spence. Chin, I would say, is even also because Spence gets his legs buckled by guys with less than 50% knockout ratios, like Porter, like Ugas, and like Peterson. These guys cannot punch, and they still manage to buckle his leg. But stamina, I'd have to go with Crawford.
All right. To make a long story short, I'm going to agree with you guys, and we're gonna give the stamina edge to Crawford right there.
Can I add one argument for Spence?
Absolutely, please.
So I seen someone in the chat said bring up the numbers, right? So I went over to CompuBox, the statistical leaders, right? And CompuBox is not too reliable, but it can give you, something.
An idea, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you an idea, right? So the leaders are right here. Errol Spence I think he's number 4, and he lands around 21 punches per round, and he throws around 70 punches per round. And Crawford's down here closer to the bottom. He lands 15. Let's say 16 is like 15.8. Let's say 16 punches per round, and he throws about 46 punches per round. So I think that could argue leaning the way of stamina towards Errol Spence, like I was saying earlier. He just does more.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's an interesting point right there, man. But again, we're talking about the context here. If Spence is a drunk and he's on God knows no, because
we don't know Crawford drinks,
but we can only go by what we've seen, and we've never seen Crawford almost passed out, slurring his words on camera. I mean,
that's true, bro. Yeah, he's never been ejected out of a car.
But then again,
never sold.
Well, he did get shot in the head, right?
Yeah, he does more. Yeah, Errol Spence does more, but they got different styles of fighting. And in the end of the day, it depends on how you conserve that stamina in relation to that style, right?
Well, one other thing, Crawford throws a lot of throwaway punches on purpose to establish and keep range. And CompuBox, as well as BoxRec, are going to count those as shots, even if his intention isn't to land them, but just to kind of look Lara does when he throws that jab out Good for that guy. When he throws his jab out when the guy's 2 feet away and he knows he's not going to land, they still count as punches thrown. So, like I said, Bud throws a lot of throwaway punches to establish. Instead of measuring with a straight arm, he just throws throwaway shots.
I'll say this, man. I'm putting up that here just for reference. One of the few times Spence has gone the 12 rounds, he threw 707 shots against Garcia. Danny Garcia, that is. So it's not like he's just holding. It's not like he can't throw. I mean, that's 707. That's a lot, man. It's almost 1,000. That's not the norm for welterweights. I don't believe. It's a little bit above average. So he can throw shots. And let me look up how many. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
He does throw more than Crawford, but that's his style. He throws more, but at the same time, you throw more, you're gonna get more tired. So in relation to stamina, we're not saying that he doesn't throw a lot and that he doesn't have stamina, but if you throw more punches, you're gonna be more tired. All the while, the other guy, it's not that he can't throw, he just fights differently and is conserving his stamina. So at the end of the day, when it goes down the stretch, who's gonna be worse for wear when it comes to be more primed to get touched and knocked out? It's probably going to be Errol Spence because he's the more tired. All the while, this guy did less, so he's not as tired. You can say he doesn't have the stamina, but he's conserved it. Then he can hit you and get you out of there because he's more conserved. You could also see it like that.
There's also stamina and endurance aren't the same thing. Endurance is how much you can take. And one of the videos you did, BDA, showed I think it was Danny Garcia throwing that straight right to the body, and Spence bends over, and I saw Crystal Jury do the same thing early in their fight, like the first or second round. So the stamina of who's able to throw more and not get tired is one thing, but once that body work starts to come into play, even though Spence works the body more than Bud throws hard to the body, and he invests there on occasion, and he does to throw the rhythm off. And if Spence doesn't take it to the body as well as I think he does not, no one's ever really tried to work it before, that's going to play a factor into his stamina.
Yeah, man, but I mean, that's a good point. You know what? Let me go to the phone lines here, see if anybody wants to comment on the whole stamina thing, because I believe we're at a bit of a standstill here. Let's go to 561. 561, you're the air. 561, what's on your mind?
All right, appreciate y'all letting me get on. I'm listening to everybody talk, and I just want to say let's be appreciated that we actually got this fight. At one point, we thought we weren't going to get this fight, so I'm happy that happened. So far, you guys are right on most of the part. I think speed is for Crawford. Power, I'd have to go with Spence because Porter and Kelbrook both said Earl hits harder. Ring IQ, I mean, I guess I'm not really too certain on. I believe both guys are excellent at ring IQ. I think both guys make adjustments. Crawford is the more flashy. It looks prettier to the eyes. Earl is he deceives the fighter. He moves his hand to hold the boxer's glove, and he cuffs the hands behind the head. He makes it look ugly, so it doesn't look pretty, but if you slow it down, you see he's manipulating their guards. He's using his head. He's replacing his head with a punch. He got his head like leaned on to the shoulder of a guy, then he'll immediately replace it with a punch. Like, if you slow it down and watch it, you would see what I'm talking about. It's a beauty to watch. These guys.
Caller, you got to help us out here. Stamina, man. Stamina. Who's got the better stamina? Spence or Crawford?
He gave an answer for everyone but stamina, right?
Caller, are you still there?
Yeah, but my bad, fellas. Quick, I'm gonna go with Spence because he's throwing over 1,000 punches and he doesn't get tired. And I know you guys say you never seen Bud get tired, but Bud dropping his hands is him getting tired. 8, 9 rounds in, you will see him drop his hands. He doesn't have his hands up anymore. And he starts to feint more, and he gets flat-footed. He's not bouncing around the ring anymore. Now, by that example, I mean, if you watch him fighting Postal, where he danced around the ring for most of the fight, but his hands were up, But when he chose to trade, he traded with Postal. Now, if you watch with Eagles Kavanaugh's, you know, the time where he got dropped, but he went into, he was just saying, fuck it, I'm going to brawl with this dude. I'm not going to dance around with him. You know, when it got to the 8th round, the 9 rounds, like his hands are down. His hands are down. You know, now he's just swinging. You know, so I'm gonna give the stamina to Earl, because Earl always has his hands up, throwing the jab, and he's throwing over 1,000 punches, and he never gets tired. And I know you guys brought up him couldn't knocking out Mikey Garcia or Danny, but he had fat camps against Mikey and Porter. You know, now he hired a nutritionist. He's training in Texas with, you know, 120-degree weather. And like, I'm just saying, that's over 1,000 punches every fight. Like a welterweight doesn't throw that. So I'm gonna go with Earl on stamina.
All right. Well, listen, Colin, we appreciate your call.
Close to 1,000, 700 and around there, not over 1,000.
Well, listen, but that's not even close. 700 is not close to 1,000 when it comes to fighting.
Maybe
well,
listen.
Well, let me move on from the call, and then we'll get back to this. Caller, thank you for your call. Call back next time, all right? Take it easy out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me go through another phone call here, and then we'll get back to the list here, because I see the phone lines are piling up. It's not even a calling show today, but I don't want to leave too many people hanging here. So let's go to 416 here. 416, you're on the air. 416, what's on your mind?
Yeah, in regards to stamina, would you guys say that it can have some prevalence or connection to that of the ring IQ?
Yeah, I would say so, right, guys? Because, I mean, if you're controlling the fight because of your superior ring IQ, you're not expending as much energy as the other guy. You're making the other guy expend more energy, generally, if you're controlling the pace of the fight.
Yeah. So,
of course.
So, in the context, Gonzalo, Jimmy, panel, if, like, a lot of these guys say, oh, yeah, like the previous caller, oh, like, Spence is throwing 1,000 punches. He's playing a game on metrics in regards to, like, just general statistics. Like, you throw 1,000 punches, you're aiming to catch like a higher percentage. Hopefully, if you're a good puncher. The issue at hand with Crawford is that he's more cerebral. So he's what I would refer to as a thinking puncher. He counters at the same time when he's throwing a punch. In the light of like this guy Inui tomorrow. Inui's a perfectionist in the context of like every punch that he throws, it's with precision. So Terence is, I would say, he's also possibly a more precision puncher. So the punches that he throws out, they're with intention. It's not like, okay, you know what? Let's use a basis of statistics and just randomly throw out certain punches. Like, okay, if I'm gonna hit your arm, I'm gonna hit your arm. Okay, and if you hit your guard. Nah, man, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking that in regards to ring IQ, that may have an effect because Terence is a bit more of a cerebral, not a bit more, he is a cerebral fighter, because that's why a lot of analysts and whatnot, they say that he's downloading or he's taking down information, he's watching his opponent's movement for the first few rounds prior to reacting. So it's comments.
All right, well we get your point there, caller. We got to get back to the list here, but thank you for your input, and you offered up an interesting.
Wait, BDA, just one.
Yes.
BDA, 1 second. Jimmy, are you having summer allergies because you're sniffling and you're a lot?
Do I have allergies? No, I used to, but not right
now. Jimmy.
No, he's right. and it's on late onset allergies. I never had them before until like 2 years ago. Now I have them brutal.
I have.
Because I was on the live last night too, and you were like, I was just like, I wasn't sure if Jimmy's doing like yayo or like getting the Oscar De La Hoya.
No, because I smoke it.
Why not both?
Yeah. No, I was just like, all right. I see how Jimmy plays. It's alive, and okay, all right,
well,
man.
listen,
Yeah,
Colin,
thanks, BDA.
Thank you. We got to move on to
the show, right?
Exactly. You got to party, man. You got to have a good time on this show. All right. Thank you, caller. Thank you for your comment. All right. Listen, everybody on the phone lines, we'll get back to you. Let us just get through at least this first page, because we got a whole other page of attributes that we got to get through. So let's finish with this one, and then we'll go back to the phone calls. All right, fellas. Let's try to make this. Let's not prevaricate here. Mental strength. Who do you give the edge to?
I would say that Errol Spence, recovering from his accident, is still having the courage, to step up and test his body like that. I'd give the mental edge to him just off that.
All right. Yeah. That never sober is going with Spence. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
I'm going to go the other way once again. Not that Never Sober doesn't make good points. He does. But going back to what Jimmy mentioned, and I hadn't thought about it, but he doesn't rely on drinking. This is Terence Crawford, while Errol does. And that tells a lot about a person's character. And don't get me wrong, this category, they both have mental strength. It's not like they don't. They actually do. More so than they do not. But if I have to give the edge to somebody, Terence Crawford, because he lives a cleaner life, he doesn't depend on the alcohol. But when we're talking about specifically in the ring, because really that's what matters, yeah, they're both tough, man. Look, Errol Spence, he's like bullheaded. He got that tunnel vision. When he's determined that I'm punching and you're not getting me out of that mind frame, he's sticking to that. Like when he got fucking Yordani Sugas out of there, you could see Danny Garcia. Like, dude, he stayed on them. That's mental strength. But with Terence Crawford, you see his character, like they say that dog that barks don't bite. Well, this guy doesn't bark a lot. He doesn't talk a lot. Leading to the whole thing when people say, oh, they got bland personalities. Errol Spence as well. They don't talk a lot, but yeah, they can certainly fight, man. And he's got that dog too, Terence Crawford. Errol Spence as well. Yeah. But I'll just have to give the edge to Terence Crawford.
You had to go with the dog thing, huh? All right, so Gonzalo's going with...
Yeah, that mean look. No, that's Tommy Hearns reincarnate.
So you're saying Spence then, just to clarify?
No. I'm making great points in relation to both, but I'm just gonna say that Terence Crawford, because he lives a cleaner life and
he's straight edge, right?
Right, that's what he. That's
just giving them the edge.
All right, fantastic. All right, who else wants to go next? Who has the edge in mental strength? Crawford,
Jimmy, you want to go?
Spence or Crawford?
I'll just go real quick. I definitely say Crawford on that one. Sorry, I just like you said about the drinking. He's always fucking partying, and plus, I go back to when Crawford has always been the one searching out Spence for years.
Yeah.
He was asking to go into the ring after the fight. Spence wanted nothing to do with it. After he fought Danny Garcia, he was told he couldn't go in the ring. He wanted a face-to-face call-out. Spence's people said no. After Crawford would show up to his Spence's fights and stand right there waiting to talk to people, to answer any questions. Right after Crawford dropped Porter, Spence sprung up from his seat, him and his boys, and ran out of there like they were beating a bar tab because he was all like pouty. And when what's his name asked him, "You have anything to say?" No, and he snapped back and shit. He was all angry about it and stuff. So yeah, no, honestly, in my opinion, again, that's all it is. I believe that's Crawford is the mentally is the tougher of the two.
And I'm gonna have to piggyback off and agree with that. There's just this, you guys say that dog or whatever you want to say. He's got that edge to where he's like the Tom Brady of boxing. He's been overlooked this whole time, and someone else is getting all this other praise and all this other stuff, and he's been bending over backwards and doing everything he's had to do, and nobody, Danny was his number one contender and didn't want to fight him. Sean Porter, when he had a belt, said, "I'm not going to call him out." Then when they eliminated everybody else, the fight still, took its time. And I never remember Spence ever calling him out. I remember it being mentioned from, we might fight or happen when it happens. But that aside, just remember the 10th round of the Porter fight. They kept saying he's down. And then when the seconds were out, he stood up. He looked back at his cornerman. "I'm down." And then just this look just went over his face. His eyes went into that, 1,000-yard stare. He said, "Okay." And he went out there and knocked him out. He was, "What? How? What?" Kind of almost laughing a little bit. And then when just before the seconds were out, he stood up. I'm down. Okay. That's all he said. And then he went out and did it. That focus in the 10th round, that's when fighters start to get a little bit tired, but not him in this case. He not only didn't get tired, he was mentally focused to go out there and do one thing, finish the job. And Jim Lampley said this in an interview recently. When he makes his adjustment late in the fight, it's not to pull out a close win decision. It's to take you out. He gets laser focused. He gets pointed. And Jim Lampley said he's like an assassin. When he finally gets focused at that late, now it doesn't mean he knocks everybody out. He's gone the distance with guys before. But when he makes that adjustment late, and like they say, to download that information, he goes into execute late. It's not to try and pull out a win. It's to cement the win by beating you up.
So let me just clarify here.
But there's something different about Crawford that's just got that mean streak that just seems meaner. And for that purpose, I give the edge to Crawford.
Let me just clarify here, because some of you guys were saying about what you're saying about Crawford, the grit he shows in the ring. When you were talking about Spence, you were talking about stuff from outside the ring. My question would be, what do you see as a flaw in mental strength from Spence inside the ring?
His low blows that he throws in every fight.
That's a good one right there.
Like he did Ocampo buzzed him, and then he hit him with a left below the belt right after that, and then threw a flurry to the body to stop him. When Porter was fighting back, he hit him in the hip.
He didn't just hit him in the hip. Just to clarify, he didn't just hit him in the hip. He hit him about 9 times straight, right in the balls.
That doesn't fall under ring IQ. High ring IQ.
That's good. That's experience too, man.
I'll take that. I'll take that. But in addition to that, if you're resorting to that to try and stay above in competition, then that's also a weakness. Look, we all say that Andrew Golota wasn't mentally strong, and because he went crazy and with foul people. How's this any different other than the fact that Spence is more successful?
Yeah. Another thing, Chief, to add to what Chief is saying, Errol Spence, he's looking for his teeth on the ground, thinking he lost his gum shield. So that goes against him.
That's what I was going to say, Gonzalo. I was going to say that he recently he has this habit of it's happened twice with Danny and Ugas, where he's more worried about. He said in an interview he was more worried about being embarrassed and becoming a meme with his teeth sitting on the canvas more than he was more worried about that than getting knocked out. And that's there something he shouldn't be worried about.
Takatika in the chat says, low blows is a strength. Do what it takes to win the fight. It's up to the ref to stop it. I mean, so cheating is okay. Cheating means if you got to resort to cheating, that means you're mentally strong. If you're breaking the rules.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, BDA.
I mean, that's what I told you that's the mentality that we got nowadays. Hey, cheat. It's part of the game, I disagree. Listen, I think both guys are mentally strong. Yeah, you can dog, no pun intended, Spence all you want about his outside the ring curricular activities. But Chief did bring up the good point that the low blows, that rarely gets mentioned about the Porter fight. He was hitting him with some mean low blows in that one. And you can say that the ref should have stopped it. Maybe the commissioner should have stepped in. Hey, maybe the commentator should have pointed out. At the end of the day, he had to go low to do that. Meaning, skill for skill, talent for talent, he had to resort to do that. That's not mental strength. That to me is a guy breaking. Like when Andrew Golota. Was Andrew Golota mentally strong when he started using Riddick Bowe's balls as a speed bag? No.
I love that. Shit was funny as hell.
Right? I got to go. Listen, I think Errol Spence is mentally strong, but I think, again, we're going to have to give Spence the edge here. We're going to have to give him the edge.
Crawford, you mean, right?
Crawford, excuse me. Yes, thank you. Doing two things at the same time. All right, so that concludes the first page on this list. Anybody else got anything to mention before?
One thing, BDA, real quick. Sorry.
Yes.
It doesn't change my pick Terence Crawford, okay. People can say he's a stone cold killer. I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but we've seen him stick out his tongue too before. Remember, BD, when you said a long time ago, sometimes he gets frustrated, he sticks out his tongue because he does do it. That's a little sign of frustration at moments.
Well, nobody's perfect,
Sticking
right?
out his tongue, dropping the hands.
Right, nobody's perfect. Both guys are human beings. They've, like I said, that falls into the experience thing. They're both highly experienced. They fought the best. That happens sometimes when you fight the best. You're not everyone has a 100% poker face. Eventually, everyone has a rock, as that FBI profiler used to say. So look, I think both guys are mentally strong, but I'm just gonna give Crawford the slight edge. But look, I tell you what, man. Looking at this list again, you could surmise that you guys gave every category but one to Crawford. Again, this is all speculation, and it doesn't. Even if it were true, you don't win a fight just on speed, power alone or ring IQ and experience. I mean, these are all close categories that could go either way. So it doesn't change the fact that there's an interesting fight going in. Let's go to the phone lines real quick, because we got some phone calls here, and then we'll go back to the second part of our list here. Let's go to 229. 229, you're in the air. 229, what's on your mind?
Y'all got me? You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, 229. What's up?
Yeah. I'm just checking out y'all listening. I got a good panel today, man. Really appreciate it. Listening to what y'all have to say. On the chin thing, I got Spence for the chin. And I know it shouldn't be too biased. Y'all don't want to look crazy over here just having all the points on Crawford's side, but I'm gonna make a point about the chin. Spence haven't fought no punches, or I'll say since he started championship fights, 12 round fights, fighting championship level fighters. He ain't fought man punches. He haven't fought any puncher coming off of KO victories. He's fought no one, literally no one, till he started 12 rounds coming off KO win victories or KO streaks. Crawford has fought many of them. He's fought many, and yeah, he was dropped by Kavaliauskas. I agree with that, but Kavaliauskas was also a power punching Olympian. You know what I'm saying? With also a high KO 70% KO ratio. Spence was hurt by Manuel Larty with a lower than 30% KO ratio.
So you're saying, but that you could be right that Crawford is a bigger puncher. I'm looking at it this way. You're saying Kavaliauskas.
No, I'm talking about chin. I'm talking about the chin.
Right, but so you're saying Crawford's gonna chin check him?
Because you have to factor in what you have to do. You have to factor in the caliber of punches. Like you can say, because Crawford got hurt, that he has a worse chin. No, you have to make it equal. Okay, what was the caliber of fighter he was fighting that he got hurt against, and then comparatively, the other fighters who had lower KO punch ratios, like the ones who hurt Spence, was Crawford hurt by those caliber punches? And the answer is no.
Preach.
Interesting point.
I've been saying this for years.
All right. Well, listen, we can't go back and forth right now, but caller, that's a great point, caller. Excellent point. Anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, great show. I'm enjoying the show, guys.
Thank you, man. Glad you enjoy it. Call back next time. Take it easy out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go back to another phone call here. Let's go to 713, and then we got to go back to the list here. 713, you're on the air. 713, what's on your mind? 713, you're on the air. Going once. Going twice, 713. All right, call back next time. Call back later. We're going to go back to the list. All right, so as you can see, it's a contentious list here. Some disagreement here and there, but ultimately, we're getting through this page. Hold on a second. Oh, shit. What the hell did I do here? All right, let's go back. Then let's go to the second part of this. Now we're going to go punch for the first part here. Well, we'll go with precision, accuracy. Who is the more accurate fighter? Errol Spence or Terence Crawford?
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to say Errol Spence. He's got better punch placement. If he's bending the knees and he's on the inside and he's looking, you don't know where he's necessarily looking, but he's thinking. The gears are turning. I'm gonna put my shot here. I'm gonna put my shot there. My third shot's gonna go over here, one step ahead, consistently throwing punches where he wants to put them. I'm gonna say Errol Spence. Although Terence Crawford, he'll catch you with that sneak punch, dead on, like a sniper. But they're fewer and farther between.
Mm-hmm.
More Errol Spence, basically in the two hands. He's consistent.
All right, so you're giving it to Spence. Interesting. Who else wants to chime in?
In this instance, I'll say that this goes with the power discussion. I think that Errol Spence is heavier handed, and I think Crawford's power comes from his precision and his punches. So I'd give this to Crawford. I think he places his punches at angles that catch people off guard. That's how he dropped Porter.
All right, so we got 1-1 here. We got Gonzalo going with Spence, and we got Never Sober's going with Crawford in terms of accuracy. Who else wants to go next?
Precision. I mean, this is something that can be somewhat, without looking too much into context, just by looking by their punch stats and which one is more accurate. But because, like I said, there's a lot of throwaway shots, but they're to establish and keep people at range, so when he does load up, he can step in with that shot that you're not ready for. Like, you think he's throwing that jab like an inch short on purpose a couple times so when he finally steps in for whichever power shot he steps in with, whether it's for the left or the right, when he steps in with it, you think you're out of range because he missed with those jabs. So like I said, he throws throwaway shots. But the precision, when he finally does want to land that shot, he's on point most of the time. So punch stats may throw this off, but I think the one that actually really throws the follow through, and when he wants to land, he does, it is Crawford. So I'm going to put the edge towards Crawford, even though I know that Spence's jab is extremely accurate, but he usually plays that patty cake game. Like I tell you, he paws at the other person's jab until he can set his own up, and in doing that, he misses a lot of shots until they're tired enough to where he can close that distance. So I'd go with Crawford.
All right, so now we've got Sobers and Cheap said Crawford. Gonzalo said Spence. Is Jimmy still there? I see he's muted.
I'm here. I don't want to be sniffling all over everybody.
That's fine. That's a very courteous. What's it called? Courteous.
Courtesy of you. Yeah, courteous.
Yeah, courteous. What do you think, Jimmy?
Again, I just think it's Crawford. I think he's a little more accurate with his punches. I think we saw that in Porter. I think when he throw with his power punch, but Spence's a pretty accurate puncher too. So it was kind of one of those flips. But I don't know. I'm going to stay with Crawford because I think he's been the one who wanted this fight. So I'm crediting him for everything. I think if it was honestly up to Spence, if there was big fights to be made, big money fights to be made, I don't think he ever would have taken this fight, to be honest with you. I think he was forced to by Steven Espinoza because they needed the numbers. So,
all right. So
he avoided this fight for years. So I'm going with Crawford.
Precision. I'm going to concur, and I'm going to go with Crawford.
Precision.
I'm going to go ahead and say accuracy, precision. I'm going to concur with that and say Crawford. Spence is not inaccurate. But if we go back to the punching thing, the reason why Crawford is good at it is because he delivers the payload of his arsenal, his ordnance. He gets it through, and that's because look at most of the way he knocks people out, like Avenisian, Benavides. Who else was I going to say? Benavides, Avenisian, Delorme. It's one shot, he wobbles them, and then it's the follow-up assault, just enough flurries to make the referee stop the fight. But it's that one shot that hurts them from the get-go. Spence doesn't usually do that. Now, again, you could argue that it's because he's fought the better welterweights, the better class of welterweights, but still, we can only go by what we see. And whether it's welterweights, junior welterweights, lightweights, Crawford has shown you that he's very accurate indeed. So I'm going to go ahead and agree with that. Before we continue on here with these categories, we got a couple of phone calls here. 979, you're on the air. 979, what's on your mind?
Hello.
Yes, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, BDA and everybody?
What's up?
This is Bruce from Houston.
Oh.
So, are we? I've called in a few times. So are we having like we're talking about predictions of the fights?
No. We're doing that. Well, I mean, if you want to give your prediction, you can do that. But today is the comparative analysis show. We're comparing each guy's strengths, who has the advantage in terms of power, blah, blah, blah.
All right. So what are we talking about right now?
No, wait a minute. You can't just call in and then tell me. Hey,
No, like what?
Wait, listen. You want to give your prediction?
So I know, but like what? So, specifically? What is it? I'm sorry.
You're confusing me. First
We were
of all,
just
that's a
talking
big.
about the decision.
No. Hey, Chief, don't help him out. Don't help him out. He's a big boy. He can take care of himself.
Houston would have a problem.
Bruce from Houston. I'm kidding around, by the way. Bruce from Houston. I'm curious. You're from Houston. You're a Texan. First of all, who are you rooting for? Before I get to your prediction.
Well, I'm predicting that Crawford will win.
All right.
Be a unanimous decision.
Crawford, I'm writing it down here. All right, now, who are you rooting for, though, as a Texan?
I'm just rooting for it to be a good fight. I really would have liked this fight to happen like 3 or 4 years ago when they were talking shit to each other. It kind of just feels overcooked to me. I'm more excited about the fight that's going to happen in the morning. For those in the United States, Inoue Fulton, that's like the fight I've been looking forward to more than this fight, to be honest.
I agree with you, yeah. All right, now who are you picking for that one?
I think Inoue's going to win. I just think I don't think anyone can stop that work rate that he has for 12 rounds. From 118 to 126, honestly, I don't think anybody can stop Inoue.
All right, interesting. All right, well, listen, Bruce, we got to keep going here with the list, but thank you for your call and call back next time, all right?
All right, no problem.
All right, take it easy out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Let's go to another phone call here. Let's go to 323. 323, you're on the air. 323, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How you guys doing? Hey, BDA, when are you going to host open lines again? Or I don't know if you ever did, but I want to get your perspective on some of these things too. We talked about because sometimes things get out of hand on the open lines Fridays, man.
I used to host the Open Lines Friday, and I sometimes I'm in there in the beginning before it gets popular. But one of the reasons why I dip out is it's hard to hear what I'm saying here on the Discord, and number two, I want to really give different people the chance to talk. Usually, as you can see here, I babble a lot, so this is my chance to babble. But Fridays it's your guys' chance to babble. So I try to stay away from the open lines nowadays. But this Friday, like I said, you just reminded me, Don Madrazos, this Friday will be a special edition of the Open Lines. It's going to be a drinking. In other words, if you're sober, you can get in. Now, I'm not saying you have to drink.
Hold on. When isn't it a drinking?
No. Wait a minute. That's not. No. What I'm saying is, this time we're really going to enforce it. Now, I'm not saying you have to drink alcohol because I know some of you guys don't partake in that. But you got to be at least on caffeine. You got to take some Sudafed. You got to be on something to be on. That's all I'm saying.
Biker crank is what
exactly.
is what we're going to be doing. Nothing crank.
Better. There's nothing better than biker crank, yeah.
Anyways, so God damn it, I have to wake up so fucking early to watch that goddamn Inoue fight tomorrow. The fuck is that all about?
Well, listen, whether you have to wake up early, late, whatever, you don't need to curse. That's number one. Number two, you're on the West Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm on the West Coast.
So for you guys, yeah, it's 1 a.m. over there.
Is it 1 a.m, really?
The fight.
Well, I mean, 5.
Well, okay. Well, technically, the fight starts. I mean, the whole card starts at 4:30 in the morning. The main event, they said, might be 7:30 in the morning. So you're looking at about main event 3 a.m. Yeah.
Oh shit! All right. Well, I guess I'll have to do some biker crank and stay up and watch it.
Why not?
Anyway, you guys, it's been really interesting listening to you guys talk about all breaking it down, and a lot of you guys are breaking it down really well. I have to agree with with you, Jimmy, and Never Sober on different points. One thing I have to point out though, and it's bothered me because when I watched the fight, when it was Ugas and Spence, and when Ugas caught Spence, it was during a break, and I don't know if anybody really has mentioned that. It was during the ref kind of broke it up at that point, and I guess Ugas didn't hear him, and he clocked him, and he did shake him. But to be fair, Errol Spence had his defenses down. and you got to watch it again. I think it was Lawrence. What's the guy's name? The ref in Texas they always use
Lawrence Cole.
Lawrence Cole or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was during a break, and we've got to point that out. That wasn't really a legitimate strike. So, but other than that, I still have it at 50-50, and I'm edging it towards Crawford. And the only reason I am is because of father time, and that's about it. I've always said that. I still maintain that point of view, and I've watched some of the fights again. One other thing that concerns me after watching Bud Crawford fights is that he tends to be off balance a lot. And somebody mentioned that he has his hands down, and maybe during the later rounds, or maybe he gets a little too overconfident and he starts stepping in and doing this pivot. When he steps out, he's off balance. And if you can catch him at that point, you can knock him down, and that's exactly when he gets in trouble. It's a balance thing. I think he does have good footwork, but I don't think he has control over that footwork. Now, Errol Spence might have more control over that footwork because he's a little bit more basic with his footwork, and he knows where to be and when not to be in range. And even though he's not a flashy, he doesn't use any flashy footwork, I think overdoing it sometimes or getting carried away could put you in a precarious situation. And I think that is going to be Crawford's downfall with a guy with solid fundamentals. But overall, I'm still leaning towards Crawford, you guys. I still think he's got a little bit more talent and a little bit more in the toolbox than Errol Spence. And just because of the lifestyle, again, you guys have mentioned he's a drunk and all that shit. Yeah, it's not a good thing. It's a horrible thing when you have a fight that should have happened years ago. That
well done, Margassus.
We're judging it on the fact that he's the life outside of the ring, and it shouldn't really,
right.
Well,
I mean, that's what. That's what it is, man. It's sometimes you got these guys aren't these guys are boxers, they're not saints, and unfortunately, that's what happens. Now, I completely agree with everything you're saying, but I tell you what, we're gonna have a bigger chance on Friday to talk about this fight. And on top of that, we're gonna have I believe we're gonna have a film analysis show if everything goes according to plan. So we'll talk more about that fight. For the moment, we got to go back to the list here. So thank you for your call, and call back next time.
All right, you guys have a good one. You guys have a good week. Enjoy the fight tomorrow morning.
You too, man. Take it easy. Don't take too much of that biker crank. Don't take too much of that biker crank. It can really mess you up. Take it easy out there.
Biker crank.
Biker crank. There you go. The worst thing about the biker crank is the fucking hard-on. I mean, already I got no problem down there, if you know what I mean. Then the biker crank just exacerbates it, and it intimidates people. What can I say? All right, let's go to another phone call here before we get back to the list. Excuse me, the list here. The fuck? 832, you're on the air. 832, what's on your mind? The fuck is going on in the background?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. 832, what's up?
Hello? Yeah, this is Greg Terrible from Houston. Anybody from Houston, I'll probably go to Bombshells to look at the fight. Anyway, as far as comparison, I got Terence Crawford because I think his IQ is a lot better than Errol Spence. And to me, Errol Spence is more of a volume puncher, not a boxer puncher. I pick Crawford to be the better boxer puncher. And as far as power, I kind of rate him even. Errol, to me, hasn't fought the best welterweight. Kell Brook was pretty much undefeated. He fought him and he beat him, whatever, in England. So, I mean, both of them are mentally strong. Crawford, he has that ESPN, the top rank matchmaking for Bruce Trampler. And I believe also their team, Errol Spence's team, they don't want to pursue this fight because their PBC affiliation too. But I don't know if you guys remember Jermaine Taylor and Kelly Pavlik. Pavlik was a top-ranked fighter, and Taylor was a Al Heyman fighter. So was Berto and Ortiz. I don't know if you guys remember that much.
Sure.
And it's always been the Al Heyman fighters. They even what's his name, Wilder, with the unified camp right now, Fury. They have always lost the real big fights, and historically Crawford has been pursuing this fight. Fine, whatever. I've been live to when Mikey Garcia fought Spence in to me, it looked like Spence is a volume puncher. They both got about the same amount of power. Chance about the same. Mental strength about the same. But IQ and the way the fight could be changed is because of Crawford. It's like he sets traps. That's what I like about him. He sets traps for his opponents. He stays in the pocket. He takes them out. To me, he's also better. Like I call it a sniper puncher, because he's real accurate when he wants to get out of there. He'll make adjustments, trap you, and just hit you hard, and down you go.
Right, well,
but hopefully it's a pretty good fight, like Pavlik and Taylor, not like Mayweather and Pacquiao. God forbid. And that's it, man.
All right, man. Well,
I enjoy
listen.
your show, and
Thank you, Greg, from
man.
Houston. Thank you, Greg. Thank you for your call, man. And call back next episode when we do the official prediction show, all right? Take it easy out there.
Okay. Take it easy.
All right, take it easy, man. All right, now, fellas, before we continue on with the list here, the most important question, of course, is not about the power, the skill, you can give me the breakdown of the fight, blah, blah, blah. But the most important question is, this determines the winner. Who's got that dog? And according to the poll here, let's go to the poll here, see what we've got. The YouTube poll, because I did start a poll asking people about this. And let me tell you, it's looking, it's not looking good here for one fighter. Although it's somewhat close. Hold on a second. I'm prevaricating here because I can't find the... Anyway, I can't put it up on the screen yet, but it says, who's got more dog? Spence, 41%. Crawford, 59%. So, there you have it there. So far, most people think Crawford's got that dog. And that, I mean, you don't have to tell me anything else. Just based off that, I'm picking the winner just based off of that. But let's go back just, for posterity here, or for all intents and purposes of the show and entertainment purposes, let's go back to the list. We stayed in jab. Now, fellas, I got to go to the commode. So you guys take over, please, and then fill me in when I return. But who wants to go first? Who has the spirit jab?
It's definitely... Go ahead.
I would say that Errol Spence, keep their... Errol Spence he steps into his jab a little bit stronger. He throws a pretty straight jab. He's got long arms. Terence Crawford does too, but I just think that Errol Spence got more snap on it. More extension on it. Straighter. Steps into it harder. It's more stiffer. He throws a stiffer jab.
He also relies on it more. Like everything flows off of his jab. Whether he's working his way in to try and work the body, throwing the straight left, everything's off the jab. He establishes distance with it. He paws with it to try and knock the guard down. It's his main part of his arsenal. Bud does a lot of posing and feinting to try and get someone to open up so he can counter. And he'll use a jab, but a lot of time, like I said a couple times in the show, he does throwaway jabs to where he'll throw them to where they're just a bit short, and then he'll unload with his power shot and step in with it and hit you with it, and you don't think you're going to get hit with it because he's missed with the jab. So Bud's jab is not used for the same purpose as Spence's. Spence's is definitely a weapon. He tries to use it to bust you up and beat you up, and as well as to set up other shots. So if Bud stuck to his jab the same way, which he doesn't, there would be a different way to try and analyze this. But it's obvious one guy uses the jab as the base of their arsenal and the other one doesn't, and it's Errol Spence.
Well, I agree with you, Chief. I was going to say that I think Crawford's jab is more dynamic, as in like he can use it, going backwards and coming forwards. But Errol Spence's jab is, he uses it as he fights constantly, and it's like a steady, heavy jab. He's going to keep throwing it throughout the fight. And like you were saying, Crawford will posture and feint to throw his offense, and he won't rely on his jab as much. So I guess, I'd say Spence has a heavier, more steady jab, and he has the advantage with that.
Fellas, it just came back. Where are we at with the count here?
3-0 for Errol Spence in regards to the jab, BD.
For Errol, all right. Who's left?
You and Jimmy.
And yourself, yes.
All right. Well, listen, I'll go first. And jab,
All right.
yeah. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Spence.
Spence, all right. I'll go ahead and say, Spence, I didn't hear your breakdowns, fellas, but I'll say jab. You know, it's interesting. A long time ago, I was getting into a discussion with somebody about body shots. This was circa 2004, and we were talking about who was the better body puncher, who was the best body puncher at the time, Barrera or Ricky Hatton. My point of view was that Barrera was the better body puncher. The other guy's main argument was Hatton goes to the body more. And I go, well, I mean, you can throw more jabs, but if you're not landing them as much, who cares about its efficacy? It's about whether that punch gets the job done. And so here, I suppose the question would apply too is we don't really see Crawford jab that much. And by extension, that means maybe he's not that great a jabber. I mean, I've seen him work the jab. Against Porter, he did it. Against Postal every once in a while. But it's really Spence who just consistently sticks that jab out, and it's a hurtful jab.
Spence uses his jab. Yeah, he uses it as an offensive weapon. It's actually meant to, like, not just to line you up. He uses it to stun you, too. Like, if you can break your nose with it, he'll do it. He extends his body into it. Crawford uses it in a classic sense. It's all about just keeping his distance. Sometimes he'll just kind of paw it out. He's not really even trying to put it on you, just to know where his distance is. You know,
exactly.
But where Spence, that's probably his best punch is his jab.
All right, then let's go with jab. I agree with you guys. I say jab goes to Spence. That's one of his best weapons, I dare say. Hey, by the way, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. All right, now let's go with rear hand. That's, of course, we're talking about. Now, this always becomes a problem because we used to call it right hand. And then people would say, yeah, well, what about the southpaw? So then we just call it rear hand. Now we got a problem here because Crawford's a fucking switch hitter. So I don't know how we're going to work this one out. For Spence, it would be his left. For Crawford, I guess we make it. We talk about whether he's on a orthodox or southpaw. Let's just say whichever stance he takes, does he have a superior rear hand than Spence's left? Who wants to go first on this one?
I don't know, man. That's crazy. Kind of relates to the power thing. Errol Spence more consistent with the power, but then Terence Crawford got that X factor where he can catch you with, particularly now speaking about the rear hand, when one of them right hands, I would say, from the trail position, or it could even be the left, when he turns, because when it's coming from the rear, obviously, for him it could be either, depends on the position, like you said, BDA, because he's going to turn into it from afar. So actually the body's coming forward, where he gets all that, he's turning into the punch. Yeah, but I'm just going to say, rear hand, X Factor, Terence Crawford.
All right. Who else wants to go next?
I agree. You go ahead, Never Sober.
All right. We're going to say, I'd say Terence Crawford has the edge here because, I mean, he's a switch hitter, so his rear hand can be either hand, so he can obviously generate power from either one. So, I mean, I just think that it has to go to Crawford.
All right. Who else?
Crawford all day. Because it's not just straight. He can hit you, and he throws it at different angles. Where Spence is kind of he's an above average fighter. Like what he does is basic. It's just a straight 1-2. He throws his right hand his trail hand very straight, and it's hard. He can punch hard. He's a good athlete and stuff. But if you want to talk about who's better overall with angles with it, who can throw it from. Like when he stopped, when he hurt Kel Brook, that was his trail hand, but the way he throws it, he can throw it from different angles. Gonzalo's broken it down many times talking about Spence's backhand, how he sets it up, and he makes it where you don't see it, which makes it dangerous. So yes, Crawford.
Chief.
Agreed. Agreed. I know we're just talking rear hand, and we're not going into uppercuts and everything else like that yet because it's a different category. But usually you get a guy, say Vernon Forrest. Vernon Forrest was very educated with his rear hand, which was his right hand. Crawford's very educated no matter which hand is his rear hand. And like Jimmy just said, assortment of angles, whether it's straight, cross, uppercut, to the body, then the head. I mean, he can double it up. There's all sorts of stuff he can do with it from either stance, and it's with power. So, Crawford.
I'm going to go ahead and concur here. Crawford throws straighter left hands or right hands. I mean, you look at the way, like look at the Dulorme knockdown when he stunned him with a straight right. I mean, it's just, and again, the reason why I'm going to give Crawford the edge is because of the minutia. Crawford, when he throws his left, I pointed this out in the film study. He's already leaning in before he's throwing that hand, and he leans in a lot, so it loses pop. You'll notice when he hurts guys, it's with the power shots, hooks, uppercuts. That straight left, it ain't all that. It's good, it can score, and I wouldn't want to take a punch, that punch, because he is heavy-handed. But if we're talking about the minutia and comparing Crawford with Spence's rear hand, we're gonna have to give Crawford the edge on that one. By the way, shout out to Dennis F. from Boston. Actually, Dennis from Boston. He says, Crawford is an all-around, is an all-around better fighter. Since I can never get through on the phone lines, please mark my picks. Crawford TKO 11th, Inoue KO 6. Whoa. All right, let me just write that down here. Dennis from Boston. We hadn't taken them down already? No? Okay. We got a lot of people.
You guys blackballing my boy from Boston?
That's
going on with that?
That's what we were doing, man. It's that bike crank. It's got me all fucked up. He said Inoue, KO 6. And then he said Crawford, TKO 11. Interesting. A lot of people going with Crawford by stoppage. I guess that when I go to Dubai video, didn't instill too much confidence on Spence. All right, Crawford, TKO 11. All right. Let's go. All right, let's go back to the list here. All right, we're at hooks now. Now that can be with either hand. So when it comes down to hooks, when they're throwing down hooks, who has the superior hooks?
Spence. I'm gonna say, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Jimmy.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I thought I was
Jimmy.
All right,
you start for once. Let's switch it up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'll just say Spence. I think that's his. He's got his basic punches 1-2, and he's got a good hook, and he works on it a lot. Like that, his left hook or his right hook. What is he, a lefty? I can't remember. But
the reason why I say the reason. Let me just say this real quick. Let me just say this, Jimmy. The reason why I'm going with you first is because I've noticed when we get the last to you, and you seem to just say it quickly. It's almost as if you don't want to impose, but I want to give you the chance to. Elaborate on some of your categories. Just give you the chance, because I hope you don't feel like we're rushing things and
no. I just know that in the past that we've always one of the problems with this particular show. It's sometimes it runs on to like a fucking marathon. So I've been just trying to keep it short and precise.
I appreciate that.
And especially with sprinkling with calls too. So yeah, I'm just trying to be precise. I just believe on a basic hook, I'll give that to the bigger man. The frame wise and just. Yeah, I'm going to go with Spence on the hook.
All right. Well said there. Well explained. Who else?
Yeah. Okay, BD. I would say Terence Crawford got good hooks too, but I'm going to concur with Jimmy. I'm going to say Errol Spence because Errol Spence, he throws a lot of hooks. In other words, he'll double up on the hooks. He'll mix up the hooks. When he's in position already to throw one hook on the inside, once again, he'll double it up. Or mix it up. And Terence Crawford got good isolated hooks because he got the long arms. But, on that wind-up, it's going to be one and then reset and one at a different moment, not within the same, working off the same combination. Errol Spence got that balance to where he can get on the inside and double up, like I mentioned already, like 2 or 3 times. Yeah, so I'm just going to say that Errol Spence. Just to be clear on that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it right there. Now, before the next person goes, let me just say real quick, shout out to Jonathan Lambarena. I missed his earlier super chat. He said it was not during the break. Ugas smacked Spence. Spence lost his mouthpiece. The referee noticed and said stop as Ugas kept punching. The ref stepped back. Yeah, the ref didn't say stop earlier, so it was a legal punch if I remember correctly. Maybe I have to go rewatch it. But shout out to Jonathan, and then he gave another super chat. He said, "You missed my last super chat, you muppet." Nobody calls me a muppet. That's number one. But I let it slide since you're contributing to the show. But usually that's where I draw the line, Mister. All right, let's go back. So shout out to Jonathan Lambarena. Who wanted to go next? in terms of hooks. Gonzalo and Jimmy broke it down well there. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm gonna say, just like Boxing Chief was saying, the jab is part of Errol Spence's style. I think the hooks are part of his style too. I think he jabs his way in, and he starts laying the hooks on you and the uppercuts. So I think his hooks are better.
All right, Chief. I think you're the last guy. Chief, are you there? Oscar, November, Bravo. All right, well, I'll go then. I agree with everybody. The hooks, and that's Spence's bread and butter right there. I mean, once he gets on the inside, he'll just wail, and he can do it. And what I like about Spencer, he works both sides of the target. Usually, guys, when they go to the body, it's like, no, I want to go with the left hand to the body because that's where the liver is on the right side of the guy. So my left will land there. But now you work the other side too, man, because that takes a guy's legs away as well. And Spence, that's what he does. Just look at the Ugas fight. Even against Porter, he was really going to the body against a shorter guy. So whether he's fighting a tall guy, shorter guy, mover, slugger, he will always go to the body, and those hooks are a big part of that. So I will agree. Now, that's not to say the other guy doesn't have a good or decent attribute when it comes to that, because Crawford, his hooks are different. They're wider, they're wiry. It's almost like Deontay Wilder-ish, but with slightly better technique because he's more accurate. And those are some wallops that he throws, Crawford does, especially on the back foot. If you rewatch the Porter fight, he's throwing some wallops, some arcing shots. And,
wallops.
They look like they're hurt, man. So Crawford's no slouch when it comes to hooks, but it's just I think Spence's technique is better, and he just does a better job on the inside with those hooks. So we're gonna go ahead and give this category to Spence.
Oh yeah. Also with Spence's hooks, I was gonna say he like you're saying, better technique. He holds his hands tight as he's throwing them, so he's always doing defense. As he's doing his offense with the hooks, and that's like just textbook, hooks. Like he just holds them his arms really tight. As he's throwing them.
Exactly. By the way, Harley in the chat says, before you got to experience, you said Spence stopped the bigger guy in Ugas, but isn't Ugas a 140-pounder? Not that I remember. I think he's been fighting at welterweight for years. I could be wrong. I'd have to recheck. And can any of you guys weigh in on this one? I thought Ugas had been fighting for years at welterweight.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard of Ugas until he was fighting for PBC and fighting guys like Porter.
Is that right? Can anyone else weigh in on this one?
What's that, BDA?
Because somebody in the chat said that Ugas was a 140-pounder, or they're asking if Ugas was a long career of 140-pounder.
I thought he was heavier actually, but
yeah, I thought he was
that's
always
just speculation.
Let's see. Let me check.
He doesn't look like a small welterweight.
No, he's fucking.
He's big, man.
He's strong. Yeah, I've always. That's why I always assumed he'd been a welterweight. Let me check here.
He kind of manhandled Sean Porter, who's really strong too. Sean Porter is like a football player. He used to fight at middleweight. Fought Usyk in the amateurs, and when they fought, he couldn't get in, especially thinking that he don't got the power like that. Ugas doesn't. He's got to be strong to be able to handle somebody that's trying to rough you up.
I'm looking it up.
Talking
here,
about
says,
like nip and tuck, like wrestling.
Yeah. Right. Some people are saying Ezekiel says Ugas fought at 140 when he fought Amir Imam. Okay, so that's when he fought him. But when he moved up then? XMB says Ugas fought a few times at 140, but he did start at 147. All right, interesting. So he must have moved up years ago. It's not like he just moved up recently. We'll just leave it at that then. All right, let's go back to the next category here.
Yeah, he probably wasn't eating a lot over there in Cuba. Just probably like a bowl of beans and rice. But now you got over here, he's living the good life.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Excuse me. Okay, so now the next category, uppercuts. Who has the better uppercuts? The superior uppercuts?
That's a crazy one because, man, Terence Crawford, he got the longer limbs, and when it's coming from a place where you don't see the punch from under and up, he got that long-ass arm, so he got a higher ceiling to punch up. The arm's going to travel higher. And the way he caught Gamboa, bam. I think that was an uppercut and Indongo maybe or upper hook. The element of surprise with that punch you don't see coming because he tends to drop his hands too, and that's a bad thing. But you could also say, hey, sometimes the element of surprise, the hand's already down and primed to just basically throw it up. And he's got some knockouts like that, pretty impressively. Terence Crawford, my opinion.
All right, Gonzalo's going with Crawford on this one. Who else wants to go next?
Oh, hey, one more thing, Billy. Although I have to say that Errol Spence, I'm just going to give him some points too. I picked Terence Crawford. When he's on the mitts, remember how you say why do left-handers don't go to the kidney sometimes?
The uppercuts.
Why they don't go to the kidney sometimes?
Yeah.
He does. Errol Spence can basically throw a nice, nifty uppercut from the lead hand where it's hard for a lot of people to get the leverage. And Errol Spence can do that. But no, I'm just going to say Crawford. I just wanted to throw that out there. It's pretty even, but Terence Crawford. Sorry, that was over.
It's all good, bro. I thought you had finished. My bad. But what I was going to say was I'm going with Errol Spence in this because I think it's part of his style. And I just think that I would rather have his uppercuts because, like the hooks.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the chat here at the same time. Some people are saying King KO. No, hold on a second. Recognize it said uppercut. He would give it to Crawford. King KO says he caught Evanesian with an uppercut. Okay, Jimmy, you're still here, man. Uppercuts. Who would you give the uppercut edge to? Who has the superior uppercut?
Crawford. That's, I think, one of his better punches. I don't think Spence, he can throw him good, but I think Crawford throws nasty. He's got long arms for his torso, for his body. I think he really snaps him in there when he, but it's not a bread and butter punch for either guy, but I'm just going to go with Crawford because fuck it.
Because fuck it. All right. Well, I'll say this. Spence has a good uppercut. I've seen him work it on the inside. And this might just, when you're talking about specific punches, this is tied into the accuracy and the power too, because Crawford has dropped people with uppercuts. I believe he dropped Benavides with an uppercut. I could be wrong. He caught Gamboa with a counter uppercut during one of those knockdowns that he scored. I think one of them was with an uppercut. He dropped, I believe, I think he dropped Porter. I think that's what Gonzalo said too, that he dropped him with an uppercut. So he can score with those uppercuts. They drop guys. Now, is that tied into the power? Because we're judging the technique of the hooks and their efficacy. I'm still gonna have to go with Crawford on this one. I think Spence's uppercut is good. It's nothing to sneeze at. But again, if we were hard pressed to choose one, I'd go with Crawford as well.
Did I cut off? I think I lagged out.
Yeah, I think you did, man. And it says that sometimes it says that you're writing something, but you're not writing anything in the chat. So it's almost as if I think there's a bit of a glitch there on your end.
We'll have to press a button to activate the voice chat so I don't get background chatter in here.
Okay. I got you. By the way, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. And we got 3 minutes left on the phone lines in case anybody wants to call in. We'll do another show, by the way. It's going to be just like a call-in show. You guys call in and say whatever you want. So don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. This ain't your final chance to call in. All right, let's go to the next category here.
Can I reiterate one thing real quick, BD?
Absolutely.
Terence Crawford, yes. I already said it, but it's about repetition sometimes. I think that I'm kind of even convincing myself. Terence Crawford, he's got that long-ass arms. And by saying orangutan, it's not like a racial thing. It's just he got long fucking arms, right? And that's a quality too, because look, when you got them long arms and you're dropping them, because people say, oh, whether he's getting tired or not, the uppercut is a punch that's a real deceptive punch. That it's one of the sneakiest punch, if not the sneakiest, and all the punches combined, because it comes from a place that you don't see it. So he's got the arms down, long ass arms. When he punches up, that punch got a higher ceiling. And if you don't see it coming, dude, it's gonna knock you out. It's kind of like the element of surprise, like the little Jack in the Box. You're turning the handle, boom, 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 comes out of nowhere. So that's Terence Crawford, in my opinion.
By the way, you just said Jack in the Box. You are now going into one of Shadowban's new compilation videos. Just heads up, just letting you know.
Coincidence or fate?
Nah. Trust me. Oh, what does he always say?
I promise you.
I promise you. It's all gonna. I'm the best. I'm the best that ever done it. I promise you. All right, let's go.
And just because Terence Crawford can tie his shoes without bending over, that doesn't mean he's always racist.
Yeah, somebody. I told you right that somebody took me to task because in the video that I did about that I said that Crawford has long ass orangutan arms, and the guy goes, "Did you just say that? That's racist." I go, "Shut the fuck up! What do you want me to say? He's got T-Rex arms. Can you point to me a better animal that fits the analogy? I mean, come on, let's stop. It's fucking. Some people make it everything racial, man. But anyway, Bodywork. Who has the better, superior bodywork here? Crawford or Spence?
I'm gonna have to go with Spence. I think that Terence Crawford hits the body well, but nothing Terence Crawford does is as consistent as. Even though I think he's the better fighter and I think he can win, it's because he's the counter puncher and he throws your rhythm off, and then he unloads with power punches. Spence has a better jab. Spence throws the hook more often. I do think that Bud has the better uppercut, but the one who works the body over as part of their arsenal on a regular basis is Spence. I think Bud hits hard to the body. I think Bud loads up to the body. I think Bud throws real hard body shots you don't see, which can stun you, because if you remember, he did buckle Porter's legs late in the fight with some of those uppercuts to the body that when Porter didn't see him coming. But the one who works it on a regular basis is Errol Spence. Now, people cover up well, and they don't always hit the ribs and the kidneys. I mean, not the kidneys, the liver shot, because they cover up from them. But that's because they know those body shots are coming. And it's part of his arsenal. But the more proficient one that does it more often is Errol Spence.
All right.
I was going to say, I think bodywork goes to Spence. I think hooks, uppercut, and bodywork all go to Spence because that's his base style. And yeah, bodywork goes to Spence.
Yeah, the only way I disagree that they're never sober is because I don't notice his uppercut as much. And Bud doesn't throw it as often, but when he does, it's like Gonzalo was saying, when he uncorks it, well, look what he did to Porter. He uncorked it in the ninth round, staggered him slightly. It wasn't like a big-time stagger. Or he did it again in the 10th, down he went.
I think he throws a lot of uppercuts to the body.
He does a lot of good uppercuts to the body. Oh, you talking about Spence?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to argue with that. I already have this a better body worker, and uppercuts are part of body work. So I'll take. I'm still going with Spence anyway, but I'm keeping my uppercut comment towards Crawford.
Yeah, I think all three of those are for Spence.
Yeah, the body. I generally, like, speaking, when I think about uppercuts, I'm thinking like an uppercut that's gonna go upstairs, slice you up to the chin, down the middle. When I'm thinking of upper hooks, shovel hooks, body work, I'm thinking it could also be hooks to the head, but I'm thinking when talking about body work, I think I keep it down to maybe that. Put it in the hook category, hooks. So Errol Spence, he's one of the best hookers in all of boxing, man. One of the best body punchers, along with Canelo Alvarez and a few others. One of the best. He's consistent with it. He got good balance. He can also throw to. He's a true southpaw, so he goes to that aligns with the left side as I'm facing you. The liver's on the right, but as I'm facing you, it's on your left. So that aligns with the left hand. And he can also get up on you and belt you to the kidneys. And obviously throw the straight left to the solar plexus where it's going to hurt you. So he's got all those options, and he throws a lot of them. He's got good balance, and he sits down on them. Yep. So I'm going to say Errol Spence, bro.
All right, so
actually, all day. That's a clear one. Errol Spence, man.
Okay, Jimmy?
Spence.
There you go. We're all in agreement. Errol Spence is the better body puncher, and there's no equivocation here because it's not about who throws more or who throws harder. It's all around. It's Spence. So we're gonna go ahead with Spence. See, this category now, it's starting to turn out more competitive here. Let's go to corner. Who has the better corner? Or the superior corner, that is.
I think Errol Spence is Derrick James. Did he win trainer of the year and stuff? Isn't he? I disputed champion. Well, so does Bomac, huh? I think Errol Spence's corner got the edge, just because Derrick James got the accolades.
Yeah. Uh, Derek James, trainer of the year, and I know sometimes it gets like a little overhyped, but he's the next fighter. He got the experience. He's got many fighters. All the while, Terence Crawford, he got Bomac, and Bomac don't have too many fighters. And I mean, let's keep it real, man. Bomac and the other trainer that Terence Crawford has, they look like they train young kids at the YMCA, man. It looks like Terence Crawford is carrying his trainers. Right? It's like, okay, come on, Bomac, let's do some mitts. But I'm basically just having you around because you're my friend, and I'm basically carrying you in these training sessions, right? You're not doing much, but you're there. And that other dude that looks like Native American or Mexican too. And by the way, PDA, like their freaking gear, it looks like with all that money, like they're getting the gear at the Walmart. It looks cheap as fuck. It's not even broken in.
It's true. It's weird, man. Yeah, it's true. It looks like they're buying the cheap equipment there. But all right, so you said, just so I don't forget, you're saying you would go in terms of corner. You think Spence has a superior corner. All right. Who's next? Who wants to go next?
I'll say Derek James, Spence, just because he has more guys. I think Bomac has an excellent relationship with Crawford, and that other dude, like he said, what, Indian or urine colored? I forgot what exactly.
Nah, he didn't say. No. He didn't say urine colored.
Urine colored.
Yeah, geez, Louis, Jimmy, what's the matter with you, man? Oh, fuck.
All right, hey. The white guy can never be racist. I know.
That's right.
Just want to throw in a joke, but no, seriously. Crawford though. I mean, Spence. Derek James is. He's handled multiple fighters and he's taken them places where Bomac, like Gonzalo said, so far has been a one-trick pony. And I've seen him with guys too. Not that long ago, a couple of months back, he had a fighter who I didn't hear him offer up any kind of adjustments, and the kid got smoked. It was like an 8-round fighter. I can't remember who it was. But yeah, so Spence.
Yeah, I meant to say Native American, Jimmy, because it's Bomac and some Mexican-looking dude or Native American, because he's from Oklahoma or Nebraska or wherever Terence Crawford's from. They got like Indian reservations. So I don't know, man. I didn't mean that like a true Indian.
Who's left here?
I guess me.
You and Chief.
So yeah, we're definitely going to have to go with Spence. And I'm not going to defend anything about Crawford's corner, but I will put this out there as far as relationships go. And sometimes the talent, the talent's brought out young, and then the fighter kind of carries it from there. Perfect example, after Roy Jones left his dad and went with Coach Murkison. Coach Murkison couldn't train anybody else other than Roy. Now, Roy Jones was a special talent, don't get me wrong. But they had a special relationship. And they knew how to work with each other, knew what was going on. And that's what seems what's going on with Bomac and Terence Crawford. And maybe there's not a lot of stuff because, let's face it, remember Stu used to say you shouldn't need to tell your fighter what to do all the time in between rounds. The fighter should know how to fight. He and I disagreed with that, but he has a certain level of point that if you have a fighter with a high enough IQ, the cornerman's just there to tell you something you may not see yourself, but shouldn't need to say too much more if you're sticking to a solid game plan. That's not to say that Bomac is better than Derek James by any means. And you know the saying, those that can't do teach. And we know that Derek James couldn't do, and he's a very good teacher. So, you know, we saw him get knocked out by Joe Lipsy, and he never quite made a contendership, but he's running one tight ship in the gym. So he obviously has a higher IQ than what his body was able to perform back in the day, and that's no disrespect because Emmanuel Stewart was never a world champion. Neither was Eddie Futch. You know, just because, and neither was not Eddie Futch. I just said his name. Pacquiao's trainer, Freddie Roach. Yeah. None of them won championships, but they're all great trainers. So,
absolutely,
like I said, he may not be able to do, but he sure can teach.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Now, the trainer does have to do something. I mean, the fact that Crawford is such a good fighter has to do something with the trainers. But at the same time, it's Gonzalo also said, too, is like, well, who else do they train? Keyshawn Davis? I mean, there's not enough information out there for me to really gauge Bomac and the Native American guy. and really assess their abilities. Derrick James, I'm going to go with Derrick James, although I will add an addendum here and just say that Derrick James right now, I think he's being slightly overrated. He's hot now because he's got good fighters, but remember, a couple of years ago, everyone was gravitating towards Virgil Hunter. Not that long ago, everyone was gravitating towards Reynoso because he had Canelo. And then he had Valdez, he had Andy Ruiz, Ryan Garcia, and those guys were hot. But then eventually the fighters lose. And then sometimes people start blaming the trainer. And all of a sudden, the trainer's not good anymore. So just to keep things into perspective, but as far as it goes for this discussion, I'm going to go ahead and agree with all of you guys and say that Errol Spence has a superior corner. And that's going to be interesting because if it becomes a firefight and you need one of the trainers to offer advice and make an adjustment that's going to make a difference, this corner issue here could potentially play a big part in the fight. All right. Now,
if I may, real quick, if it comes to that, the fighter that's going to need the corner to get them out of that is going to be Spence.
There you go.
Bud's smart enough to know how to adjust, make an adjustment, and do it on the fly and come up with it on his own. He's shown that in other fights where he's had difficulty. Spence has done the same thing no matter what, and it just so happened to where he was always in the lead. The only time he wasn't arguably in the lead was against Porter, but he didn't change anything. And Derrick James didn't tell him anything different, to be honest with you. So the only fight that he might have lost, Derrick James gave him zero adjustment information on what to do to pull ahead. So the only example we have of them needing that is a fight that Derrick James didn't do any of that. Yet I still go with him over Bo Mack.
Interesting. Yeah, that's it. I'd also like to, I want to rewatch the Kell Brook fight because that was another fight he wasn't necessarily winning. I mean, I had Kell Brook slightly ahead, and I'd be curious to rewatch it and see what Derrick James, if anything, what he said to Errol Spence. All right, now the final category, well, almost final, cuts. Who marks up the most, and therefore who marks up the less? Who's got the thicker skin? Who shows damage the less or the least? Rather, what the fuck?
I think they're dead even here. I don't think either of them has really been cut in fights like that really bad or taking that much damage.
Now, if we're
yeah, go ahead, BD.
If we're talking about context, keep in mind Errol Spence did suffer an eye injury not that long ago.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. He got some scar tissue, and I think he got cut up against Danny Garcia, I believe, maybe even Yugas, because of the tender tissue. And he's also in there. He goes in there. He fights on the inside, so he's prone to taking more punches.
I don't remember Bud ever swelling. And I'm not saying he never has, but I'm going through my mind, and I haven't really judged and done my research on this particular category. But I don't ever remember him having a mouse or anything under an eye ever. And I do remember Spence's face being bruised up pretty good from Porter. So now this could be the fact we see the bruises better because Spence is a little lighter. And, that may be part of it. But the swelling, the bruises with the swelling you can see on his face, I've never seen that on Bud's face at all. And I don't remember him ever getting cut, even though he might have been cut from a clash of heads when he's staying at Southpaw. But nothing's coming to mind standing here at this moment. If he has, I've forgotten.
Gypsy Boxing says the only fight Spence was losing was against Brook, not Porter. He was schooling Porter. I don't remember I wouldn't call it a schooling. I don't know, man.
He wasn't schooling Porter.
When I saw Crawford Porter, I thought Porter was out maneuvering him. But Spence out schooling Porter, I don't know, man. All right.
No,
anyway.
that didn't happen. That fight was competitive down to the minute. Now, you can argue who was ahead, and I'm not going to argue anyone who thinks that Spence clearly won. I don't think he clearly won wide. That fight was close. And to be honest with you, the judge that had it 115, 113, or 113, 112 for Porter, I scored it the same way. But there were swing rounds that I gave in favor of Porter that could have clearly gone to Spence. So even though I had a wide card, a number of rounds, those close rounds in between, I edged towards Porter just because I thought he he when he was in trouble, he fought his way out of trouble, and so by doing that, I gave him some of those swing rounds, and that's all I got to say on that.
All right, interesting, Jimmy. What do you think? You're the I think with the before final voice. Who takes less facial damage?
Well, see, Crawford wears his seatbelt, so all the time. But yeah, no, I'd say Crawford. I've never seen his face jacked up. I think he got a cut once, but he doesn't have protruding cheekbones. Doesn't have high cheekbones. Spence has higher cheekbones and maybe sharper. But yeah, I think I've seen. Yeah, his face was even jacked up after the Ugas fight. Remember, it was all scratched up. Even had one of his eyes were jacked up a little. So yes, I'd say Crawford's got. Dubai, baby.
All right, so you're going with Crawford, and that's interesting though because first of all, it brings a question here. Did we even do? I don't think there's defense in any category. And that's an important one. Yeah, we never really judge defense, but it's interesting because Crawford does get hit. And that's the thing that's been a point of contention in all the debates, especially on Twitter, when Crawford fans go, well, Spence got stunned by Ugas. And then the Spence fans go, well, Crawford got stunned by Lil Gamboa. And it brings up this point about the cuts because Crawford has been hit throughout his career. That's one of the criticisms. He keeps his hands low, blah, blah, blah. So considering the fact that he gets hit clean and we've never seen him considerably swollen or cut, I'm going to use that as to give him the edge and say that he takes facial damage much more better. In other words, he shows less facial damage by a slight edge. And may I also say too this Crawford, they're both Afro-Anglos. So in other words, black if you want to say, but if you want to go by skin tone, Errol Spence, you can tell he's been Anglicized. There's European in his lineage. Crawford, he's close to Amistad black. Like he just came out of the fucking jungle. That shade darker. It's hard to mark up. That I'm not trying to be funny here. It's difficult to mark up a guy like that. It hides the facial damage better. So that's another factor here for Terence Crawford that I'm going to give him the edge when it comes to cuts and.
Well, you have a point.
Damage.
Yeah, you have a point because Azuma Nelson and Mike Corte, they didn't bruise very much, and even when they did, you couldn't see it on their face because they, like you said, they're a little bit darker. They come from, they're directly from Africa, So whereas like Errol Spence, Mike Tyson, when he was done fighting Evander Holyfield, you saw welts all over his forehead from where Holyfield was just pounding on his head. He's a little bit lighter than they are. So if I have to put it as lightly as I can, as objectively without sounding like a nimicel, the benefit of the ethnicity being closer to that lineage is the fact that your skin, it appears to have more punch resistance.
There you go. And by the way, when you brought up Holyfield, Tyson, I thought you were going to say the welts from all the Holyfield headbutts, but we'll leave it at that for another episode. Listen, we went through the list here. This one, when it comes to an arsenal of punches in the first half of this list, it was much more competitive than the first part where we were talking about speed and all that, and most of those went for Crawford. So it's going to be interesting once we do the official call-in show too as well to see how many people really, when we start amassing more picks and predictions, see what people say. Now, we still have a long way to go here today. Well, not a long way, but the most important thing, the patented BDA dogometer. We kind of talked about it when we were talking about mental strength, but now let's really get down to it. When it comes to the BDA dogometer, on a scale of 10, who has more dog? Who's got that dog?
I'm going with Crawford.
All right, he's going with Crawford. Who else? Come on.
Well, I was going to say, too, Spence is ready to quit. I mean, he was like, well, I could walk away right now. I'll be happy.
I don't know if that's...
And then there's Crawford getting shot at fucking auto body shops because he wants to punch the dude who spray painted his car wrong. So, like, he's just more of a fighter,
I mean, you could... I don't know. What about Errol Spence sparring a fat guy, bare knuckle in the streets?
Recognize said that if Crawford weren't fighting in the ring, he would probably be doing it with his friends on the street. Like that's who he is. That's what he does. Jimmy, you said the same thing about David Benavidez. They're fighters. This is like there's a mentality inside of them that it's not just competition. You know, Holyfield was just a competitive fighter, regardless of the headbutt, blah, blah, blah. He was just a competitive fighter. But these two guys would be fighting if they were doing anything else. Mike Tyson would have been fighting if he was doing anything else. Some people, they just have that extra fight in them to where if you just look at them wrong, they're it's a competitive edge, but their competitive edge is also tied to their temper. And that's kind of why I lean towards Crawford on this one.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying, and I don't disagree with you, Chief, and everybody. I was thinking the same thing too, but you got to consider also that Errol Spence, he's, you know, when they say about like dogs, you know, like real dogs, oh, they're game because they fight, even like roosters. This fucking dude wants to break Terence Crawford. When he goes in there, you know, he gets on your chest a lot of times. He's throwing punches. He's trying to impose his will. He's trying to beat you up and break you down. That's game. That's he got that dog. Honestly, so Errol Spence, man, make no mistake, dude, he got the dog too. All the while, Terence Crawford, he gets on the back foot sometimes. He doesn't always want to meet you in there in the center of the ring. So that's one thing to consider. I'm just gonna go the opposite. I'm gonna say Errol Spence.
Never Sobers, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm right here, bro.
What do you think about this whole dog discussion?
So I would have to go with Spence right here because, like he was saying, like his whole style is being a dog. He wants to dog you out of the ring, and he's a alcoholic party boy who likes to drive fast and live fast, and he's just just that type of person. And Crawford's kind of a square, so he changed his life and shit. So I lean more towards Spence and Errol Spence is a nasty motherfucker. He said he was in a gut Terence Crawford from the butt like a fish.
Yeah, he brought up the butt, by the way, and I said, well, where's he going with this? I kind of wanted to tune out a little bit there.
What else do dogs do? They take you by the butt, right?
I mean, hey, listen, that's apparently, man, there's no rules when it comes to dog fighting. Now, shout out to Uncle Pete. He says, dog. Yeah, that dog. And by the way, somebody mentioned that Errol Spence is originally, I think his lineage is Jamaican. Now, you know what that means. When you talk about Jamaica, they have that stereotype that they smoke a lot of ganja. And I'll say this. There's a fine line, and I've always said it, by the way, there's a fine line between courage and stupidity. Now, I don't know where Spence falls in on that because, yes, we've been criticizing him for his lifestyle, but maybe that's to his credit in terms of his grit. But the guy, he's one of those old school boxers like the non-pareil. I think that was anyway. Those old school boxers that would drink, party, and then on fight week they would train a little bit and then they would go to fight. Again, that's stupid, but at the same time, it's this guy Errol Spence. I've seen him in that street fight against a bigger fat guy, and they were wailing at each other's arms. So I mean, I think he's also been in his share of street fights. So I don't know. And by the way, Jamaica. Whenever you bring up Jamaica, we got to bring up Anthony Weiner at the West Indian Parade back in New York a couple of years ago, doing a horrible pandering job there for the West Indians.
TNT, red, white, and black. Anybody here from Jamaica?
Oh man, that's crazy, dude.
Anybody here from Guyana?
All the Jamaican flags should have went down.
I mean, why is he putting on he's from the Upper West Side or whatever, probably born there as well, or fucking Long Island. He's, what are you from Jamaica? What's up, man? the pandering is just, man, I can't even get into it. By the way, we got to recognize here, recognize, just to clarify, we're talking about the all-important dogometer. Who's got more dog?
I give the dog-o-meter to probably Spence. Yeah. Spence is a dog in the ring. He's a dog in the ring.
Guys, should we just settle?
He's the dog.
Should we just go with the easy answer and say that they're both equally doggerific?
Yeah, once again, they say that the dog that bark don't bite. Well, Terence Crawford, he's kind of quiet. He don't bark, but he bites when he bites. The other fool too.
I did see one instance in Terence Crawford that always stands out to me, and that's the postal fight. His dog wasn't there that much.
That's true, huh?
But I remember when Crawford was eye to eye with Spence. That time of 2019 with Bob, and fucking Crawford weren't even blinking, staring Spence right in the eye, like, "What's up?" And Crawford was staring at the tops of his shoes. So that put him in a puppy for me right there.
Yeah, and also Jimmy, the Errol Spence, man down. Yeah, he beats people up, but he ain't getting the knockouts. While Terence Crawford is. Man, that's a hard one.
Well, you could say that at welterweight, Spence fought the better competition. I think he fought a better version of Kell Brook and Sean Porter. But you can say since Crawford's been at welterweight, he's knocked everybody out. I mean, a little bit less in competition, in my opinion, than Spence. So probably, because Spence has been there a little longer, his style of fighting, he likes to go to the body a lot. He doesn't really have that much movement in his legs. I think Crawford could use better footwork. So maybe he doesn't have to be all dog and shit. He can use a little finesse to win the fight.
Yeah,
so I'm still sticking with Spence, man. I think Spence is gonna beat him too. It's gonna be a good fight though.
Bucho in the chat says, I think that's Bucho. I mean, it's got to be Bucho. He's using the BDA Gaming account. He says, in his eyes, Crawford has more dog. I mean, the poll says, let's all go to the poll. The poll says Crawford 59%, Spence 41%. I got to tell you, man, I disagree. I think they both have that grit inside of them. I mean, you don't make it to where they're at these stages in their career by having no motivation.
That.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I just think that because of Crawford's footwork, a little bit more finesse in his game, we don't see it as much.
All right, so what do you guys think? Should we just tie it and go with a draw?
Yeah, that's why they're gonna meet each other in the ring. That's where they're gonna resolve that one.
That's a great answer, Gonzalo.
Which is odd because on the dog one that's the one I have Crawford probably the most. The most. I think Crawford he's a nasty dude. Like, he's that dude who's going to take your lunch money. You know what I mean? He's just a mean prick. I think Crawford, Spence is a pretty humble guy, just a family man. Honestly, like I said, I don't even think he'd have to take this fight unless he wasn't forced to. So I think Crawford, out of the two of them, if they were both, all things being even, one would be fighting for free and the other one would be playing fucking Pong.
Yeah, Jimmy, but his boxing trunks don't have pockets, so he's not going to be able to take his lunch money to the ring.
Oh,
he'll be all right. Nah, just kidding.
He's going to have to take what? He's going to take what? His ass? He's going to tax that ass instead of the pockets? I mean, come on.
What the fuck,
yeah, what are we talking about? No, I'm asking you. What are we? Because we're talking about taxing things. I mean, I don't know. It's like, well, what else is he going to tax if there's no money?
Well, that's basically what Errol Spence says. No, I'm going to take that ass and I'm hook him in the ass. What he say? Something.
Yeah, he said, I'm going to stick my whatever in there. And it's like, I mean, come on, man. It's going to get a lot of control.
Didn't he even say drive too? Didn't he say, I'm not even going to talk dirty to him first and nothing? I'm just going to jam it in?
Yeah, I think that's what he said. He said no lube.
Chill. That's what he said, bro.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
No dinner, no fucking kisses to the neck, no sweet talking. Just
hey man,
fucking
that's the dog right there, bro. That's some dirty dog shit.
Just some prison loving.
Yeah, but I can deal with. Combine that comment with the kisses on the neck, and it starts to make you wonder, doesn't it?
I mean, listen.
Errol Spence looks supremely confident, man. He looks supremely confident. Like his mentality. He's dialed in, but that might be his downfall, man. To be honest.
Yeah,
getting stuck inside the pocket too long. You know, a little bit too much of a tunnel vision where you're too concerned about doing your own thing, putting your punches together, and getting tired all the while. That's the thing with the stamina. Yeah, he might have more stamina to throw more punches, but if that other fool's conserving himself better, that's Terence Crawford. Then he can all of a sudden like throw one shot when he's more put together than the guy that's expending his gas tank more. Damn, that might be his downfall. I think Errol Spence is winning the fight. He's winning the rounds, but then ultimately he ends up getting clipped, and that's what happens to him. So I'm saying he loses tired. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to win the early rounds until Crawford figures him out a little more, and then I think when he starts sucking air a little, it's going to be a combination. I don't see him getting taken out. I see Derek James hurling in the fucking laundry way before he gets taken out.
Yeah, I that's
something to... Go ahead, sir.
Real quick. Thank you, man. Shout out to Rick Star for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, "Peeps, back in the day, I love listening to LL Mama said prior to a major fight. I found a new hype track. Big Timers, Rocky Balboa, Cash Money Records. Thoughts?" I don't even know I don't know who you're talking about. I'll try to find out. But if it's good music, I'll listen to it. Why not, man? But shout out to Rick Star. Right. Shout out to Rick Star for his contribution with the Super Chat on that one. And shout out to Rick Rice Eater for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, "Dog, which dude moved up 3 weight classes, challenging all the champions in the division, and which one moved down?"
He was the biggest guy at 135 pounds, and he was probably the biggest guy at 140.
He's so tough beating up Gamboa, bro, at 135, yeah.
I don't give it too much. I mean, yeah, listen, it's something. It's definitely something, but I think that guy was a welterweight pretty much his whole career.
Interesting.
Did you see the picture?
No, hold on.
Shout out to that come through.
Shout out to that Gucci Berserk. He says, "My pound for pound dogs by the eye test: Spence, Tank, Shakur, Boots, Haney." Well, there you go. Yeah, that's the classic dog eye test. Skills pay the bills. Styles make fights. That whole type of shenanigan there. So shout out to all of those guys. What picture? What the fuck, man? No, but I do agree that if anybody's going to stop the fight early, it's probably Derek James, because I think he trained Errol Spence as an amateur, and so he's probably got that son-father type coach relationship. I don't think he wants to see him get beat up too much.
He should if he's getting beat up really bad. Yeah, he should stop the fight. I mean, if the fight's going, if let's say for whatever reason, I don't think it's going to happen, but let's just say Crawford is clearly beating the crap out of him. Yeah, you got to stop the fight. If your fighter doesn't want to stop. You know, you got to stop it.
And you know what, though? I'll say this, man. I'll say this. I think Derek James throws it, and the opposite with Bomac. Bomac is a fat guy. He's a greedy pig. I think. I'm not trying to be funny, but that's the way. I think he's greedy. So what I think, if the shoe's on the other foot, and if Spence starts beating Crawford up, I don't think Bomac throws in the towel. I think he says,
throwing a cheeseburger.
No, wait a minute. No, I think he'll probably think, look, my fighter has more dog. He can take, like Margarito Pacquiao, where Margarito says, I don't want you to stop the fight because I still think I can pull it off, and I don't want to go down getting stopped. I think that Bomac would go that route. He wouldn't stop the fight. What do you guys think?
I agree. But something else I was going to add a little bit earlier, and recognize you've said this on the show before, back when they were doing the negotiations. Spence may be dialed in, and he may be pretty focused, but there's a little something else that goes along with it. Remember when he was offering those large splits in his favor of I'm 70, you're 30, I'm 80, you're 20. He thinks he's superior to Bud no matter what. I don't care how dialed in he is. And like Jimmy said, he's never wanted this fight. He's never called it out. He's never gone to the fights. He's never made it a point that I want this fight next. Bud made this fight by going and finding the hedge fund people. Bud was the one that called Spence on his own line and tried to make this fight. Spence did not go out of his way for this. One last thing, Spence, real quick, sorry, I recognize. Spence never goes after a guy who has a high knockout percentage. He went after Peterson. He went after Porter. He went after Ugas. He did not go after Mikey Garcia. He did not go after Danny Garcia. He did not go after Kell Brook. He boxed his way into those. We know that Bud's got a high knockout percentage and 100% knockout percentage at welterweight. He's not going to go at Bud. If he does, it's
That's
going
a
to be
great
different.
point.
And the very last thing, I thought I saw a meme on this when Derek James wanted to hug him right after the Ugas fight. He said, "Now we go back to normal."
What was that mean?
That's a great point. That's a great
Me
point.
meaning we're not going to go after Bud when we get this fight. We're going to go back to using the jab and fighting like we did against Mikey and Danny and Kell Brook. And
That's
guys
why I don't
by
think he's
knockout.
gonna. That's why I don't think he'll knock him out. I don't. You know, people. I think Spence is gonna win, but when I hear people saying Spence is gonna definitely knock him out, I'm like, yeah. If Crawford makes mistakes, like big ones, yeah, you know, and he's a professional boxer and he's very good. You don't want to do that, but if the fight, he brings his A game the way I think he will. I think the best Spence will probably do is beat him on the scorecards. You know, but I was gonna bring up something. It's funny how Spence was talking about 70-30, 80-20. As soon as the money was enough, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this fight like pretty much a 50-50 split?
To my knowledge, the guaranteed money is 50-50, and the pay-per-views where they're doing their split. I could be wrong, but I read that somewhere.
But okay, but you see what I'm saying? As soon as the money was like, dude, are you gonna turn this down? Whatever it is, $10 to $20 million. You're gonna turn that down? You're gonna look like a damn fool if you turn it down and sticking to your guns, talking about, 70-30, 60-40, whatever. As long as the money's good for both, like Errol Spence, who probably never made $20 million in a fight, why do you care what Bud Crawford is gonna get? If he's gonna get the same thing or very close to it, why would you even care at that point?
That's right. That's weird, no?
It's weird how money makes you just shut the fuck up.
Well, here's the
thing.
Why you gotta be a hater like that?
Neither one of them. I bet my next paycheck, neither one of them received 10 to 20. Supposedly, Bud's received a $10 million guarantee for his last fight. I've seen articles that disputed that. I don't know how reliable they are, but I know Spence has never been guaranteed. He may have come out after pay-per-view, and even then I doubt it because his pay-per-views have never broken 400,000. But I would bet my next paycheck that he's never been guaranteed 10 million ever in his life.
Right. I would guarantee that also. Guarantee it. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm wanting to take a bet that nobody.
Although I'm 100% sure he's never been guaranteed. He may have walked away with it, but he's never been guaranteed it.
I don't even think he ever walked away with $10 million.
I don't think he has either. That part I'm not as solid on.
Right, you're not as sure.
Guaranteed money. The upfront guaranteed money. I know he's never been offered $10 million.
So you see how he doesn't. It doesn't really faze him what the hell Bud Crawford is getting. He doesn't really care now because he's taken care of. My point is that these guys, look, man. Maybe I think probably Crawford wanted to get this shit over with already a long time ago. But I think that they're both very thankful right now, especially maybe if you're looking at it from Spence's point of view, where he delayed for many years. They're probably looking at it going into this fight like, okay, the wait was worth it because look at the money.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Same with
man,
Manny Pacquiao. And I'm sorry, BDA, go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. On Twitter, this has been a raging battle between the Crawford fanatics and the Spence fanatics, and I haven't seen too many people on Twitter being even-handed. It's like the Crawford fans, they think Crawford's going to school Spence, and the Spence fans think that he's just going to run through Crawford. There's no, and then if they're pressed, then they say, well, it's not going to be easy for either guy. But then when they make their predictions, it's all about how the other guy's going to dominate. So I don't know, man. I'm looking. I'm not rooting for either guy. I'm not a big fan of each guy, one of the other's characters. But I'm looking at this, just trying to figure out who wins it. I can see.
Why will you BDA? Why would they even think one guy's going to run away with the other? If there was an argument, and even though I'm picking Spence, right? If there was an argument of who's going to more likely run away with the fight, it should be Crawford, and I'll tell you why. Because these guys love to play the triangle theory. A lot of these guys love to play that. So if you do the triangle theory without content, right? Just the results itself, Bud Crawford won that because the two opponents that they got in common, Crawford did better.
Right. I mean, that's the big point of contention, right? That people always bring up as well. Crawford stopped Porter. Spence.
I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid to just bring it up and not mention that one guy fought them first. Those guys might have been better at that time when they fought him. Not saying 100% for sure, but I think I'm pretty confident in saying that Kell Brook was slightly better than the fighter he was going into the Spence fight than he was Bud Crawford. And the Sean Porter fight, you can make an argument that he's pretty much the same fighter.
But you know what, man? It's interesting, though, because whenever you talk about a fight, there's always a but. This guy did this, but then another person can say, yeah, but, and then the other guy says, but, and it just never ends. And I hate to fart on the souffle, but this fight, the reason why I'm not all that hyped up for this fight, as much as I would have been in 2019.
Don't fart on the souffle. Come on, man. That's gross.
I mean, I'm just, it's a figure of speech. What I'm saying is, by the way, Chief, thanks for being on, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you being on the show. Yeah, this fight would have been much better in 2019. That's the fact. And it's also disappointing because I think it would have been more competitive back in 2019 because I can see what the argument that Crawford, even though he's older, is in better shape than Spence, who has not been taking, from what we've seen, might be an illusion, might just be a couple of instances, separate instances or isolated instances, but I don't think he's been taking too much care of himself. So that could put a damper on the fight. And, it's happening when they're both older too. They're in their 30s. They're farther away from their prime. So yeah, go ahead, Gonzalo.
Yeah, no, but to your point, this could also be interesting because we know that sometimes fighters, when it comes to if it's entertaining or not, I'm not saying that they are at their best, but when it comes to fighters being slightly past their prime, think of Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward. They're susceptible to get hit a little bit more often, and it could even be more of a barn burner because they're a little past their peak, where they're getting caught more often. Yeah, that's basically it. That's what I'm thinking. Oh, and to your earlier point, I'm just gonna go throw this in there. I don't think that Bomac will stop the fight because Terence Crawford, he's more like the leader. And that the relationship between the trainer and the fighter, he has more authority. He basically says, okay, Bomac, come here, train me, hold the mitts. But he's like his own boss. He trains himself. So I don't think that Bomac will throw in the towel. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What I said about the fight.
I like the fact that you touched on the Gatti Ward thing because I remember that fight, going into that fight, people were saying this is a guaranteed firefight because neither guy's defense was their main, strength, and it delivered one of the best fights ever. So this one, I'm not saying, obviously, just because there's always some fucker out there that misconstrues what we say. We're not saying that these guys are on the Gatti Ward skill level, but they are susceptible to being hit for being, put it this way, for guys that are so high on the pound for pound list, or some people's pound for pound list, they're not exactly defensive wizards. They're high class defensive fighters when they want to be, but they're also offensive minded, which leaves them open to getting hit. So that's what makes this fight intriguing. That's why I would consider really buying it. I'm not saying I'm going to buy it. I'm probably just going to go watch it somewhere else. But the point is that it's an intriguing fight, despite the fact that it's past its due date. But that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the performances. Again, the predictions. There's no middle ground for the most part. It's either Crawford beats him easily or Spence runs through him. Those are the two main predictions that I'm seeing from both sides. And on Twitter, it's insane. The insanity that I'm seeing on Twitter, people going back and forth. People are so confident in their man. It's unbelievable.
Yo, BDA, since everyone was pounding on Bomac a few minutes ago, I posted his box rec in the group chat. I don't know if you want to show the chat. I think they'd enjoy it.
It's a little difficult to show it right now, but it says pro eating career, 2000 knockouts. And it says 3 Big Macs with fries, Deep Dish Pizza, win by KO. Popeyes, win by KO. I mean, come on. Who made this, man? Who made this? This is unbelievable. But I will say
he
this,
was
though.
actually a professional fighter. He had like 14 fights and 7 losses, I think.
Well,
he was
that's why
heavyweight.
one of the best burns was from Brandon Ingles. Not Brandon. The Ingle, the son Ingle, the one who trains Kell Brook. When Kell Brook was going to fight Khan, and Khan had Bomac in his corner, and Ingles said, Bomac, he was a professional fighter, decent knockout record. Unfortunately, it was him getting knocked out most of the time, and that's probably why it's going to work between him and Khan, because he's going to be able to talk him through the knockdowns. I said, fuck, I laughed out loud when I heard that, because I said, holy shit, that's a great sneaky insult there. That's saying that since Bomac was stopped a lot, he was going to be able to talk Khan through the knockout, saying, like, listen, this is what's going on right now. You're fucked up. You're fucked up. Yeah, that's why you're seeing double. It happens. It's going to pass. But here's one thing that I will say, and I wanted to save this for the next show, but we're on a good roll here. So when people go, again, about the Errol Spence, the Errol Spence fans, I will say they're more annoying overall than the Terence Crawford fans. The Terence Crawford fanatics, they can go overboard as well, which is what makes them fanatics. But the Errol Spence fans just come up with the wildest bizarrities, rarities to come up with like, for example, with Mikey Garcia. Well, at first he wanted to show, he didn't stop him because he wanted to show that he could box him, which makes no sense because it was his first pay-per-view fight. Why the fuck would you bore the audience by taking the distance, not stopping him in your first pay-per-view thing? Then Errol Spence admitted, well, I couldn't stop him because I didn't train properly. Which, by the way, when he fought Porter, he made the same excuse. I couldn't stop him because I didn't train properly. That was his biggest fight at the time, the Porter fight. Makes me wonder, this is his biggest fight coming in. Maybe he's getting fucked up again and not taking it seriously. I don't know. He's the one that admitted that twice, as far as we know, he didn't train properly. And then they go, well, he wanted to trade with... What was that?
No, sorry, go on, disagreeing with you.
Sorry. Because and then last thing, that when people say, well, they talk about who did better against Porter, Crawford or Spence, and they go, well, Spence wanted to trade with him. That's why it was a war. It's like, listen, rewatch the fight. He tried to box Porter from the outside the first 3 rounds, and it wasn't working out. And he threw plan A out the window because he couldn't outbox Porter. Porter was forcing him to fight on the inside. At least that's my perception. So, I don't know. People come up with some weird... they're jumping through hoops.
Without a doubt, the aerosexuals...
Is my perception too, or is it... because Terence Crawford wasn't with the PBC. I don't listen to them now, but before these LDBC dudes, they rarely talked Crawford up. It was more Spence. I don't know if it's because even like the brothers, if you're mixed race, like white and black, like Keith Thurman, nah, you're not that cool. But even if you're a brother of the darker complexion, you're not that cool. You gotta be the right tone of melanin, the skin color. Because even the black dudes hate on like the darker skinned black dudes. And if you're white and black, you're not good enough either.
But it comes down to who's signed to Al Heyman, bro, with the LDBC. That's usually the driving force. It's who signed to Al Heyman.
Dude, I've heard
if you sign with the fucking White Devil, Bob Arum, by connection alone, you're a fucking coon, sellout, Uncle Tom, house end.
I've heard some Crawford haters that are like Spence fans said that Crawford's so dark that if he touched himself, it'll be black on black crime.
That's a good one, man. But let me just say this real quick. Shout out to Sean Shogun for commenting. Well, he says, what happens if Errol Spence does not make weight? Can Terence Crawford still win the titles? I mean, in theory, yeah. If Spence fails to make weight and Terence Crawford says, fuck it, we'll still fight, he can win the titles, Errol Spence can't. That's usually how it goes when the champ misses weight.
Crawford just has to make weight, right?
Loses the opportunity, The guy who makes weight still has the opportunity to win the belts. The guy who doesn't make weight doesn't, he doesn't lose the belts unless he loses the fight, I believe, right? Or no, they get stripped from him, don't they? Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, that he gets stripped and he can't win it. Like, let's say I'm the champ and I failed to make weight, which would never happen, by the way. But anyway, I failed to make weight and they strip me from the title. Even if I win, I cannot win the title because I didn't make weight. I am no longer fighting at that.
Like David Benavidez is the last one. He lost his belt on the scale. So did Davis.
And may I just say that right now I'm in peak physical condition as always, but it's so much better now. It's unbelievable. But anyway, I don't want to brag too much. I wanted to say this.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, I'm just saying. Come on. Shout out to Rickstar, by the way, for his contribution to Super Chat. He says, will Spence's wife make a bubble bath with cookies for Errol after he gets face planted again? Ah, come on. Rickstar's on a roll himself, too, here with his fucking comments going after.
Of course, he's going to make $20 million. You don't think so?
Yeah, man, that's a lot of caramel covered strawberries or whatever the fuck that was when he was eating them in bed covered with rose petals. I mean, yeah, why not? But
yeah, she's probably like, yeah, of course I'm going to manipulate this dumb dude.
Nah, come on.
Freaking, he's making all that money. You think I'm going to let him go?
But I will say this, man. Again, going back to the Twitter thing, it's unbelievable some of the stuff. Right now, after we're done here, I'm going to go on Twitter see what people are saying as the fight nears. And that's what I was saying, and I'm joking, obviously, that you have to drink to be on the open lines. But I mean, if you want to, the drunker the better for most people, or at least, like I said, caffeine or Sudafed, whatever. But I suspect it might get crazy, man, because the Crawford and Spence fans, like I said, they're really going at it. The Spence fans, I would say, are slightly worse than the Crawford fans. But that's the other thing, my point of contention with Crawford, and I've said it before, is I've never seen a guy get so much credit for doing the amount of work that Crawford has done. It's like this guy can do no wrong for a lot of people. And it's unbelievable that's where. But you know what? This fight is gonna. That's the chance for both guys to just stamp their record and say, "Yep, I was always the best." That's what's on the line here for this fight. It's almost like a whiteout. It erases all the past misdeeds and speculation and questions that are out there. Cocktails and leathers with staggeringly good says Biker Crank. That's right. I might take some right now. Why not? Well, what do you guys think about that? The whole Crawford Spence thing, the fanatics going at it on Twitter. Has anybody been keeping up with it on social media?
Well, I can tell you right now, when I go on Twitter, without a doubt, it's the Aerosexuals. They're the ones who act the most fanatics. Because obviously, I watched them for 4 years make excuses why he shouldn't fight Crawford. Remember? They would co-sign all this bullshit. Oh, he needs to win a belt. He needs to cross the street. They would make all these excuses. They would it's like they didn't want the fight to happen. Whereas Crawford fans were just like, I don't give a fuck about all that. Like, oh, what about his resume? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, who cares? I just want to see the fight. Make the fight then. Just make the fight. And yeah, so without a doubt, and again, the LDBC, probably 90% of them are straight, pulling for Spence again, because Al Hamm, that's where it all jumps off for. If you're not with Al Hamm, you're with the enemy. And that's how they treat people accordingly.
You see, by default, as soon as you say LDBC, Spence together, Crawford wins. In terms of like who's not the most annoying fans. So the Crawford Spence fanboys, they win that.
That's a good point, yeah. And it's true. I mean, we went through the whole, especially last year, the most of 2022 was back and forth. It's Crawford's fault. Now it's Spence's side fault. Now it's this. And it was, I mean, remember, they tried to make Spence Thurman for this year. Let's not forget that they tried to do that. But again, a lot of people fell for the hype. They're saying the PBC's in control now because they're making big fights. But look at where they're making them. Pay-per-view. Planned Crawford didn't do all that well. Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia did well because they both big names. Spence Crawford are not nowhere near that big names that Garcia and Tank Davis are in terms of following. What's the other one? Wilder, if he fights on pay-per-view, it's going to be pay-per-view. And he does horrible on the pay-per-view circuit. So again, all these PBCs, they had to make this fight to just finally fucking get it over with and try to make a profit. So,
but you know they did a bad job when it comes to Wilder, because if there's anybody that should be able to sell, it's that fool. I mean, he should sell. He knocks everybody out or gets knocked out.
Exactly. Yeah, no, they did a horrible job with Wilder. Rick Star in the chat says, recognize true that Wesley Snipes said, always bet on black. Crawford's gonna big fish fry. Okay, so he's go with the darker guy. He's saying.
What you
Shout out to
talking
Rickstar.
about? Oh, is that what we're doing? I guess Crawford's the more blacker guy.
Exactly. Apparently, man. I don't know. That's what Rickstar is saying. But Gonzalo, you were
He
going to
did
say
get shot in
something?
the head shooting dice, right?
No, but there is some weirdness going on. Like I think there's certain black guys when they hit a certain kind of black and over, they're racist towards them, man. I'm like, why?
You see what I'm saying? Recognize it's true.
They're like, yo, because he's mad black. I'm like, yeah, he's blacker than you. Like, nah, he ain't black like me. Bro, he's darker skinned than you, okay?
Well, I got to tell you, that's.
I actually think Crawford's cooler, man. But ever since he came out with those comments against Bob Arum, I mean, who gives a fuck? Like, towards me, he didn't say anything, or like, how would that really matter? Like, who the fuck am I? Am I the fucking YouTube police? No, I'm not. But he said it against somebody else, and that changed my opinion a little bit about Crawford. He's still cool, but if he had not made those comments, he'd probably be cooler. Errol Spence, he's just kind of a fucking weirdo, man. Not saying that I dislike either guy, but you guys know, or that I necessarily like them either because they don't got that charisma as fucking fighters. Yeah, but it's one of those things, man.
So wait a minute.
No, Errol Spence is a drunk cornball, and Bud is like more like a lame cornball. You know, he doesn't drink.
Yeah, there you go.
He just gets angry about anything. He's like one of those, like, I swear to God, I always believe that he's one of those dudes that would have probably been in and out of jail if it wasn't for boxing. Where Errol Spence probably would have been like a cool dude, you know, hangs out on the, you know, he tells jokes and shit.
I mean, Crawford's mother was making him fight, making him engage in street fights. I mean,
there you go. You see, and I'm not stereotyping. I'm just saying that Bud Crawford looks like I think he would have went to jail.
I'm thinking maybe Crawford got away from the street life in spite of his mother. Again, I got no proof. I haven't looked into it too much, but it seems like maybe his mother. Again, women are usually bad at gauging violence. You know how women are. Sometimes they'll get you into fights in public because they can gauge how violent things can get. So the fact that she was encouraging him to get into that type of lifestyle, maybe he walked away from that in spite of her. I don't know. But Spence too. I mean, he's hanging out with some. I'm not saying he's a gangster or whatever. He hangs out with some bad people, a bunch of rappers. God knows what they're doing and partying. So they're both guys that are highly flawed. And so we're gonna say, BD, aren't you flawed? I tell you what, I got a straight direct line, broadband, high speed connection with my Lord and Savior. So I always get the guidance I require. So I don't besmirch other people too much.
That's actually true, BD. That when we pray, just think about it. A cell phone, you can talk to somebody with a cell phone. There's no connection. There's no line. Same thing with prayer. You pray, that signal's getting up there with no hardwire, no connection.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is I don't judge these guys. I'm not saying these guys are bad guys, but when it comes to rooting for, well, let's go with that question. Like Gonzalo, you said you're not a fan of each guy too much, but if I'm going to press you, who would you root for?
I say Terence Crawford. I think Terence Crawford's going to win. I think Errol Spence is going to be winning the more rounds and he's going to get clipped. But I might be wrong because this is 50-50. What the fuck do I know at the end of the day? But personality-wise, Terence Crawford talks less. He talks less. So in my words, in my opinion, I think he backs it up. Less bark, more bite. I'm not saying the other guy, he ain't tough either. Yeah, he got the dog too, like I said. He's more game when it comes to fighting. Like he's in the center of the ring, fucking throwing a lot of punches. But I don't know. He's a fucking weirdo, dude.
Jimmy, same question to you, man. If I had to press you, who would you root for? Or who are you going to root for more? Jimmy? Oh, I think Jimmy's incapacitated right now. Never Sobers, same question, man. If you had to root for one guy, who would you root for?
Hello?
Jimmy, you want to answer, bro?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know what was wrong with my phone. I was sitting going, hello. I decided I went to a different room. But, for Crawford Spence? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I like Crawford's style, which is totally strange. On the street, I would much prefer to hang around with Crawford. I know I would. I mean, Spence, I would know I would get along with him better, just because I know what he likes and what the drinking isn't my thing. But I'm wicked into animals and shit, and he is too. So I know I have more in common with him. So I get along with him on the street. But fighting style, I like Crawford's fighting style. And since I've been saying for 5 years, I think he beats Spence. I kind of hope he does. Because, you know what I mean? I've been pretty on him about it. But, I mean, if Spence pulls it out, I'm not going to be fucking... Dude, again, none of this shit affects me like that. It really doesn't. The only time I really get hyped up about it is when I'm on the phone talking with you guys. After that, so many more things going on that I'm not... You know what I'm saying? But...
Yeah, I get you.
It's not like that. So you know how some of these motherfuckers, it's like they live vicariously through these fighters, and a lot of them are young, and they think because they haven't lived long enough. When you've been around with fucking Generino fighter after fighter after fighter comes and goes, after what you just learn, don't get too attached to them because they're not going to be around much longer,
Mm-hmm. So, exactly.
But that's it.
It's not right. It's not cool.
It's not good, dude. Man, think of your family.
Going back to the dog thing, I think that Crawford.
I know who
he's got like three pit bulls that he purchased from Chico Lopez, the real pit bull guy.
I know who I'm rooting for.
Who's that?
Spence's wife.
Come on. Now, wait a minute.
It's not right. It's not cool.
I mean, come on. What's going on here?
You read my mind. Yeah, thank you. I knew something was gonna make you play that.
I was looking for it as soon as you said it. I was looking for the clip.
But if you had to pick, recognize, would it be Spence's wife or Crawford's?
Let's be honest, hands down.
That's kind of close, no, but okay.
Yeah, Spence's wife, and I don't even remember what she looks like, but I'm picking her.
In terms of
Spence isn't married, right? I think that's just his girlfriend, right? Or I don't think they're married, are they?
Significant other. Let's just call it that. Yeah.
Baby mama. He got kids with her?
His lady, yeah.
Yeah, he might as well be married to her.
Some people, the other word people use, the other term is partner. Like they're lawyers or something. Well, this is my partner. It's like, all right. But I'll say this, man.
That's usually what gay people say.
Well, can I say who I root for this fight?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe I should pick Crawford's wife then. But go ahead.
I want to say, I want to see Spence win because I have a feeling that PBC will try to set him up with Canelo, and I would love to see Canelo knock him out. So let's go Spence, baby.
Never Silver's thinking big picture wise here, a global scale. He's looking at this from the drama that a potential fight could generate. So hey, I get where you're going with this.
Do you want to get beheaded in Dubai, baby?
No, come on,
no, kill me.
I will say, man. Who I'd get along with, Spencer Crawford? Neither, because I live such a pious lifestyle, and it's 120 miles per hour. And most people, I get frustrated with most people, and that's partly my.
Mr. BDA, how many times we talk about, dude? Didn't the leaders, your people, tell you before they sent you into this planet, not to remind us?
I'm just saying
how much better you are than us. Come on,
it's a sin. I understand. It's partly.
But it's not fair though. It's just not fair. You're cut from a different cloth, bro.
I mean, all I'm saying is
it's not right. It's not cool.
But listen, I'm trying to better myself, and I'm trying to better others too. And that's what I'm working on. I'm working on being patient with people. Is what I'm saying. But look, in terms of this fight, it's gonna be interesting, man. That's for sure. And I'm gonna go to Twitter right off the bat after we're done here to see what people are saying about that fight. Hey, can we expect any type of shenanigans the way we've seen with Inoue Fulton, glove thing, weight thing? Any type of drama, or do you think it's going to be clean cut?
Well, here, let me post. This is check out this. This is one of the posts within an hour of fucking Rashim making that prediction about the glove, saying that about the glove. This is just read out, man. I just posted it. I mean, look at his response, and then it's even better. Look at his follow up, because obviously he was catching shit. Just wrap your head around that kid's fucking brain.
Yeah, that guy's retarded, man. I don't understand why. He's one of those guys that. Hey, wait, hold on a second. Twitter, okay. Twitter wasn't. I thought it wasn't working. Yeah, that guy's legitimately retarded. He's got crazy eyes too, and as a Christian,
he's always carrying a gun. which makes it even more spectacular.
As a Christian man, I hope for the best for him because he cannot be a happy camper, not with the way he's leading his lifestyle.
Just to show you the intelligence level, bro. Like you said, just to put an exclamation point on it. When you have an LCC, a license to carry concealed, if it's against the law to smoke marijuana in the state that you have a license, that means you can't smoke it. You can't admit you smoke it. In fact, when you write out your fucking application, if you lie and say you don't smoke and you do, you can go to federal prison. This moron is constantly taking pictures in the mirror with a fucking 9mm without a holster, right? Face down in whatever sweatpants he has on the front, smoking a joint. And I'm like, how is this fucking kid not been busted yet? Like, nobody's called the fucking town he lives in. I mean, it's crazy, dude. The kid would do that. He says he posted his license once, but it just goes to show you, dude, how unaware this motherfucker is. But he was popular on Twitter. Everybody's always sending me what he says.
What's that?
Everybody's always sending me his tweets and shit. But just probably because he says. But there's a lot of guys.
I mean, that's why I can't spend too much time on Twitter. It's like being underwater. Eventually, you got to go back up for some oxygen because it's just
that's a vile cesspool.
For every good Twitter poster you find, you'll find about 20 that are just talking out of their asses. Well, anyway, listen, fellas, we've been on for about 3.5 hours now. It was a fantastic show as always. Really enjoyed talking with you. This was fun. I will say it's 9 o'clock Eastern time here. Probably got to go to bed early to wake up tomorrow for the fight. So what are we?
What time does the fight kick off on the East Coast, Mr.
Well, the cards...
Around 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, ESPN says 4 in the morning, but that's when the whole thing starts. They're probably gonna have about 3 fights before that. So the main event is probably gonna be at 7 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah,
so it's not that bad.
I enjoy those BDA. It's the same time for me that when Taraji fought that other dude, I forget his name.
Kiraguchi.
Because it's because I'm here in the Philippines, so it's the same time as Japan, and you don't get all those the commentators that usually like narrate the fights on Saturdays where you're at, like the Chris Mannix of the world, all these fuckers that talk a lot. You get Christina Poncher and Jermel Herring, and then you got the Japanese dudes talking the natural language.
That's a good point. Now, when they do the ESPN telecast from Japan in the morning, that's true. They use Christina, whatever her name is, and Jamel Herring. Is that on the ESPN international broadcast, or because I'm in Canada and I'm not aware if I'm getting the international broadcast, and in the United States, not Andrew Ward, but Bradley and the other usual ESPN crew is there in the morning.
Well, I think they just sent. I think they go to Japan, don't they? No, they're doing it from a different place.
Yeah, they're in the studio
from a different office.
Yeah, they probably do it from ESPN's office, or unless those guys live and they have I would doubt that Christine Poncha has the whole setup nearby unless they rent the studio, but most likely it's a satellite office somewhere if they don't go to the actual event. Mr. B, I got a question. Do you know could you sing the Canadian national anthem from beginning to end? You know, like the words? I'm not saying I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying, do you know them?
Do I? Well, I know that. You know what? I know the first half. I'd struggle with the latter part, the latter one.
The last half. Same thing. That's the same. 50% of most people in the United States couldn't sing the national anthem from beginning to end. Over 50%. Canada a little better.
Sing the interesting thing is the Mexican one, because we used to sing it every morning at school. So that one got ingrained. But Canada, they never force you to do it. So I only know the first half. And I don't.
It's a lot of repetitive stuff. I could sing Canada from beginning to end.
Is that right?
Because I've seen so many. Oh yeah, dude. I can sing it in French and fucking English. I've been watching hockey. But when I played hockey, we'd go to Canada all the time, and they would always do the national anthems.
You know what you are? You're a wannabe Canadian. You're a wannabe Canadian.
I told you, I got family up in Laval.
No.
I got family.
You're a wannabe Canadian, and we call those Cancuns.
Yeah, I'm a Cancun.
All right, but listen, that's impressive that you know that the national. How many people here would say they know another nation's national anthem? I don't knows the China's, but other than that,
BDA, are you a Mexican or a Mexicant?
All right, well, listen. With that being said, we do have to go here. We got to go. Oh, by the way, okay, by the way, so...
Ever hear that? Hey. Oh,
what was that?
There's the dogs. No, I was going to say, because you said the Mexican, I just remember that was, as this is hand to go, I'm not just being this, like, trying to be cute or anything. The first racist joke I ever heard when I was like in second grade, it was my neighbor. No, it's nothing like brutal. It was just my neighbor. He had his 22. It was the older guy, Rocky. That was his name. And he's going to tell his buddy, let's go down the river. Let's go fucking shoot. He goes, yeah, what are we going to target? He goes, nah, we're going to go shoot some cans. And as they walk away, his buddy goes, yeah, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, whatever cans we can find. And they started laughing. And I was horrified because I was a little kid. My father goes, they're just joking. But I remember that was the first time I actually heard like what would be considered a racist joke. That was a long time ago, man. Kids just came back from Vietnam. That's how long ago it was. Those two guys.
All right, so listen, just to clarify the dog-o-meter, I made an executive decision. We're gonna give each guy. The fuck is this, please? Hold on a second.
That's a dog right there.
We're gonna give him a 9 in terms of dog. So that we're not gonna piss anybody off that way, and I think it's too close to call too. So I'm gonna give it. We're gonna leave it at that. All right, so fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Everybody that donated the super chat, everybody that called in, of course the panelists. I'm talking about Recognized, Never Sobers. Chief was here earlier as well. Jimmy Gonzalo. Thank you guys for joining us. I'll try to wake up tomorrow. Well, I'll try to wake. I'm definitely watching the fight tomorrow. I made all the arrangements and probably a show afterwards, right after the Inoue fight. But I'm not sure how we're going to... Yeah, we'll probably do a show. I'll let you guys know in the Discord. Check Discord. Stay tuned for that. Check your notifications on YouTube. And we'll see what happens.
I'm sure we'll do a show tomorrow. By tomorrow night, because I think that fight's going to do something. Get everybody talking.
That's true. It depends, too, on what happens. And then on top of that, I think we still have to do another Spence-Crawford show. Really get down to the nitty-gritty. All right. Well, listen. Right. Thanks again for everybody who joined the panel, everybody that called in, everybody in the chat. I'm talking about OK Take.
Hit the like on the way out, guys. Just wanted to say that.
Yes, please hit the like on the way out. Really helps us out. Shout out to the Quags, Adams, Timothy Figueroa, JC, Gypsy Style, Gypsy Boxing in there, Knockout Ned, Grievous, Sam Rando, Alfredo Contreras, Mark T, GMX, Team Batman Boxing, the Gucci Berserk. If I forget anybody, it's because we gotta go. Thanks again, fellas. Catch you in the next one, fellas. Take it easy. Enjoy the fights.
Disappointed in everyone. All right.